Hello, everyone. It's Saturday morning, and I hope you're having a good day so far, or that you've maybe woken up just now, whatever. And my name's Katie Quixotic. We're here with Half-Rate Heroes. We're going to play again today, and I'm super excited about it, although I have no idea what we're going to do today, but we'll get to that later. Why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Carl, and I play Lofcadio Whitehorn, the Tabaxi Warlock.
Hi, I'm Vinny, and I play Kale Irvine, the half-elven cleric.
Hi, I'm Casey. Not pictured. I am the champion, so warrior, payload, planescaler, big fire, check and shoot, fight storm, slayer, shadows, moth, the boss of Neverwinter. And
Hey,
thanks for coming, everybody.
guys, I'm John. I'm the dwarf from Marabar, master of the axe, enemy of the drow, traveler of the plains, destroyer of shadows, deliverer of certain death. I am the Wampum Thunderberry.
Hi everyone, I'm Graham. That's me, or Graham Crackers. I play your favorite Shadar-Kai Necromancer, Taslin Evrio, the taxi service to the plains, band manager of the Skelly Boys, and resident wizard friend.
You have triangle.
All of these titles are waiting on the trademark.
That's fair. I love band manager of the Skelly Boys. That's personally my favorite title so far. Yeah.
I know. I still haven't given any of them their instruments that we got made into weapons.
I forgot about those. They're waiting in some shop.
I think they're in the bag of holding. We got the giant sword too for Gerald, and I was like, just shove it in the bag of holding. I'm like, I'll get to it.
It's fine. So whatever. Has anyone else ever the song Jukebox Heroes? Every time I say Half-Rate Heroes, my brain goes Half-Rate Heroes. Anyway, what were we gonna say, Carl?
Stars in the eyes. Yeah, I got it.
I was going to give a shout out and thanks to Fool, who just gave us all inspiration with his bits. Thank you, Fool.
So much inspiration.
I appreciate it, because I'm going to build up my inspiration all the way to the top of my screen. That is my goal. It's not use any inspiration until it reaches the top.
Oh man. The next battle is going to be really difficult for me, I have a feeling. Everybody's just going to be like, no. So, who would like to do the recap? I think that Vinny should do it, because Kale-centric sort of thing we did. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. We will accept volunteers for this position.
Yeah, sure. People, I'm sure, want to hear so much of my voice. So... What do we do? We were in the Feywild. We went there to go see Kale's mom, or for Kale to see his mom. Everyone else really didn't need to for any real reason, but that's fine. So we went there and we did. They're like, hey, you can go see her if you do something for us. And then some Fey dwarf showed up, and she was like, I'm gonna teach cat guy how to dance. Hey, Locati, you stay here. You learn how to dance. And Locati said, okay. So then they took us to some secret underground, we're keeping a lid on the darkness place. And Kale's mom was there, and they met, and Kale asked his mom a bunch of questions. And it turned out his mom used to be a werewolf, probably, who would eat people. And I don't know, Kale pretty much felt like she sucked. And he told her that, basically. What else happened? Taslin got to meet up with Raziel. They got to hang out a little bit. That was nice. And then, after the meeting with Kale's mom, which didn't really come to any sort of nice resolution. And when I say nice, I don't mean just friendly or happy, but it wasn't just, I don't know, just they're like, all right, and it just kind of ended like life. What else happened? Then we left.
We painted.
Oh yeah. The way we left was pretty cool. We all hopped in a painting that was done by the star lady of the Rose Court.
And Wampum was the first one to jump in.
Yeah, he like cannonballed right into the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mad
There
props.
was a moment of panic. I thought he was going to break this painting, and I was like, oh no. She was just drawing that so she could teleport us and had it in her mind's eye or whatever.
Yeah, that's how we got back. Except for, well, I assume Lafcadio used the same way to get back, but he got to stay in the Feywild for what was a year for him, where he learned how to perform really good. It's just way better. He was already really good at it. Now it's just even gooder. But for him, a year had passed. But for us, it was like, I don't know, like 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes. I don't know. It was not very long. And then he showed up, I assume, through the same route, but I don't know if we covered that or not. But anyway, we're all back in a forest somewhere that Casey told me before the stream started, and I forgot already.
Lurkwood.
Lurkwood. We're all in the Lurkwood now, and we're just straight chilling.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. Do you want to talk about how Kale's feeling right now? Like, went on this excursion. What's going on? You don't have to like give anything away about like his innermost thoughts, but like, you know.
It's just it's a lot to take in.
A little overwhelmed, maybe.
Yeah, it's just got a lot to think about.
That's fair. How is it to see Raziel after so long, Taslin?
I mean, it's been like a month, but
Has it been only a month?
I think so.
I don't know these things, so I'm like, oh, I thought this was like a reunion.
Maybe not.
It had been a bit.
I don't know. I don't know the time difference between season 2 and season 3. So end of season 2 to now. Anyways, I think he's kind of energized, but also kind of like borderline panic mode because he's like, oh man, now she's guarding the super dangerous portal. That probably isn't great. And yeah.
That's fair. How do you feel after your time left behind, Lafcadio?
I feel different. Everything moves so slow here in the material plane, and everything's a bit duller. But I've just been here for a minute, I reckon, because we're just recapping. Mm-hmm. But still, that 1 minute is enough to know that stuff isn't as vibrant here as it was back in the Fae.
That's fair. A little bit of like reintroduction, culture shock, kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I'm back here now.
It's like the astronauts. Well, Lafcadio wouldn't be talking about the astronauts, but it's like the astronauts who spent a year in the space station and then come back and they drop something because they thought it would float.
I've seen those. They just like let it go. No, oh yeah. How do you feel better now that you've seen Lafcadio, Nas? Because I know
I immediately ran up to him and gave him a noogie and put him in a headlock, and which is a sign of affection naturally.
From Nas, of course.
I'm pretty stoked that he made it.
Good. How's Wampum doing?
I'm very happy that I'm out of the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that Kale got to see his mom, even though it wasn't as happy of occasion as I thought it would be. But I'm glad he got to go through that. I'm kind of anxious to see what Lafcadio has learned over a year. I'm looking to see if his hair's any longer. If he's more of a statuette type of person.
What do you think? Have there been any physical signs of the passage of time for you, Lafcadio?
Just thinner. because of a fear of eating the food.
That's fair.
There will be much more noticeable changes when he levels up, but that is for another time.
Yeah. All right. And I think we established last time after you performed the music that and I believe it was even Wampum who was kind of like keeping a close eye to see if he could make any discernible differences, that there was just something a little bit more to Lafcadio playing his song at this juncture. Like before, he was always very like technically accurate and it was always very pretty music, but there was a little bit more like oomph behind it now. It was just the difference between somebody who is like a novice player and like a master. You can tell that there's like more emotion that's easily conveyed through their music and things like that. There's just a little bit more, it's like even better, basically. You can tell like there's been practice and study and that it like captured something that it just didn't quite before. And I think that was kind of where we left off.
Yeah. If I remember, did it contain magic? I think I did check. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was just a little bit of like an aura to it, essentially. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So. Oh, that was so wonderful. That is my sincere voice for this morning.
That sounds pretty sincere for Tesla.
I thank you, Tazlin.
You're so welcome. It was quite honestly a pleasure to hear that. And I'm ready to go somewhere more civilized than a forest.
No, I second that one.
So are we coming back into the high forest? Is that where we're at?
Lurkwood.
You're in the clearing that you had found while you were soaring over Lurkwood looking for this portal. You're kind of like in the central, width-wise, you're kind of like central. You're basically like over where like the K and W are on the map that you had given me, but basically you're like in like a centralized kind of location, considering like the width of it, and you're in like a clearing that's kind of like on the central northern portion of it. You'd all like flown in on your carpet. So basically you returned where you entered into the Feywild. It's like the sun has recently set. There's still a twinge of color to the sky, but there are stars out, and you're back and you're kind of left to your own devices. Where would you like to go? What would you like to do?
So, would we like to fly back to... I don't remember the name of the city that we came from.
Mirabar?
Was it Mirabar?
Aye.
So do we wish to fly back there and have a night of rest to refresh before planning our next move, or...
Or how long would it take? It's a GM question.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
How long would it take for us to fly back to Mirabar, roughly?
I believe at the pacing speed of the slower carpet, it took you about an hour and a half-ish to get here.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, like it's not, let me make sure that I'm not thinking of a different location, but yeah, like Mirabar is like across the river and a little bit of plains away from the Lurkwood. So it's like literally it was just super close. You just happened to be there.
Okay.
Since we all touching base with our gods, is there anyone left that needs to reconnect with their faith?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I feel like that's something I did fairly recently, so probably not me so much. But if I need to go somewhere, Daenerys will send me a sign, I'm sure.
I heard you pipe up there, Casey. What you thinking?
Who's Casey?
Oh, sorry. It's early.
It is early.
Well, I did say before that Westgate would be a nice anchor point for Timora.
So our next jaunt will be Westgate.
I suppose. Kale, are you sure that you don't need to go anywhere? Because, like, as I understand it, you have not received your boon yet.
And I most definitely do not need to do anything like that.
Well, it wasn't very long ago. It was after the first fight with Naravain where I was granted power over the domain of light. So that was something, but I'm sure.
But Timora said that we had to go around and do all this stuff after that occurred.
That's true.
So that is to imply that she knows, at least, that there is something for you somewhere.
Well, we already defended Spirit Soaring. So if there's somewhere else then you would like me to go, then I'll probably figure it out. It'll hit me sometime.
All right. Well, it sounds like we're heading to civilization, at least, in the form of Mirba. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And perhaps while we're there, we can look into maybe researching our enemies to see if we can get any more information on who is serving you-know-who, and perhaps any weaknesses she may have.
Great.
Let's go.
I'm already going. I'm on the carpet.
Like it's she who shall not be named now, basically. Don't speak a name in the darkness. Anyway, yeah. So, you all are capable easily of getting on the carpets. Wampum, do you tie yourself in again?
Aye.
Okay. You are strapped in via makeshift seatbelts, and you're easily able to traverse the night sky over the canopy, the trees, and arrive back in Mirabar. Do you fly to a specific place in Mirabar, passing over the gates? Do you stop at the entrance and walk in like normal creatures? What's your plan?
I want to just, while we're traveling,
Okay.
Lafcadio is singing the whole time, just as almost like a nervous tick that he's picked up from the Feywild. Just, if he's not singing, he's humming.
Is he singing with words?
Sure, yeah.
What's this song about?
He's probably just singing about the things that he's seeing. It's probably a sad song. It's he's sad that everything lacks the color and vibrancy that he was accustomed to over the last year. He's just a little bit melancholy.
Okay.
Carl, is the song "All Around Me Are Familiar Faces"?
Oh, God.
Torn out places. Torn out places.
I think Taslin is okay with the singing for the first half hour, and just after that point is just glaring daggers at Lafcadio's back, just being like, oh my gosh, I'm going to learn that silence spell as soon as possible.
Well, I'm in front and I'm singing straight, so you might not even hear it. But
that's true.
It's true, especially if it's quiet. Is anybody doing anything particular on your journey back? Not to skip over it, if you have anything you'd like to do in your downtime, any conversations you'd like to have over the next hour and a half?
Yeah.
That was it. Okay. So what's your plan for arrival then? And what's your plan for arrival?
Let's just
Wampum will yell down to the guards, "Just me!" and then I am going. Who's driving this bucket anyway?
I think Lafcadio.
Lafcadio. The bar, please.
You got it, mate. And I'll steer it down.
Okay. Do y'all go to the one you typically go to? All right. So you're able to sail over. I think you're all pretty easily recognizable at this point. They saw you leaving on a carpet. Everybody knows who Wampum is and who the rest of you are, especially after the celebration recently. So everything goes smoothly. You're able to pass over unaccosted. You land nearby the inn you would like. What's the name of it again? Do we know? Does it have a name?
Yeah.
It was like the something anvil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thundering anvil,
Okay.
maybe?
Yeah.
I'll write that down. The
I-
something anvil.
I wrote Ironforge.
Ooh,
Oh, I do remember that coming up.
Ironforge. That makes sense. Okay, so you arrive at the Ironforge Inn. And what's your plan from here?
Walking in the door, sitting at the bar.
And right behind him.
Taslin is right behind us.
Okay. So you touch down nearby. You're able to put the carpets away. You can already hear the sort of like lively sounds of a nighttime inn. There's the clinking of steins. There's merriment and talking. There's no music. You can't hear any songs being played at the moment, but you do hear the sort of like laughing, jovial conversation going on from inside the inn. As you pass through the doors, you can see the place isn't like full to the brim, but the tables are all filled with people. Some people are playing games of chance over in the corner on the table, rolling dice. There's somebody telling a story at one of the tables, and you can tell they're already in several cups in, and they're kind of sloshing around as they're recounting some story. It sounds like as you pass by, they're talking about some hunt that they were on recently. It was like not necessarily sport, but it was a sporting hunt and difficult prey, whatever it was they were seeking. And you're able to walk up to the innkeep. They see you approach and they sort of nod. Welcome back.
Lefcario, play us something. Bartender, all drinks on me.
I'll lean forward. I require a full pitcher of something you can turn into a bomb.
They grab like a big stein, like it comes in pint style, and they go back to the Thunderbelly selection. Is there like a special Thunderbelly ale, like a reserved brew that's like even higher, like it'll melt your teeth kind of?
Not ale. It's
Not
not
ale.
going to be ale. I'll tell you that.
Okay, so Nos wants liquor. Just kidding. So they still have this pint in their hand, and they're
I'll
kind of
take
like
the pint.
they hand you the Thunderbelly ale. They grab another one. Kind of like walking back and forth, hand hovering over a few different bottles. There's one that looks like completely clear and crystalline, and on the top is like a half moon, and inside the liquid is clear and sort of shimmery. Next to it is a darker looking liquor. It's difficult to tell what it might be, but it's probably some sort of scotch or something along those lines, maybe a bourbon. And then there's one next to it that's in a wider decanter that almost looks like a bowl that comes to a corked top, and it's like purplish and dark.
Give her the dwarf lightning.
And they reach down to another bottle that's it's instead of made out of like the sort of like thin pretty glass the rest of them are, this is kind of like thicker and more like functional, and there's a uncorking sort of sound, and the liquid inside is kind of like an amberish sort of color, and he starts to pour in, kind of like almost fills the
Fill it up.
fills the full sort of like pint of it, corks it. The bottle's like nearly drained to the bottom. There's only a tiny bit left, and they kind of set it on the table, the counter. That's the word I was looking for there.
I bump Wampa with my hip as kind of like a thanks for taking care of me situation. And this looks great. And I'll just kind of sidle up the bar and get real small around the mug.
What does dwarf lightning taste like, Wampum?
It's more of a honey whiskey. It's got a sweet taste, but it burns all the way down.
I like the pain.
After my own heart. All right. There's a couple of other glasses set on the table, and everyone's come in, so they're looking to anyone who doesn't have a drink. Taslin.
So anytime Wampum goes to drink, Taslin's going to cast Prestidigitation on his drink to make it taste like water. In revenge for being nearly thrown back into the Feywild. So Wampum's going to get real drunk but think he's drinking nothing.
Are you going to try to do it clandestinely, or are you making it very obvious?
No, he's going to be very clandestinely. Like, I think Taz, like, takes his mug of Thunderbelly Ale and, like, moves, like, maybe, like, 5 feet further down, putting some, like, patrons in between him and the rest of the companions.
Okay, make a sleight of hand check for me.
Okay. I will use one of my advantage things.
I love it.
But this is important enough to warrant that.
I understand. Pranks are important.
It's true.
So
22.
What's your passive perception, Wampum?
Passive is a 23.
Oh, so close. So you notice.
Wampum is going to go with it.
Okay. So yeah, you see Taslin off down on the side doing something interesting, and you're not super magic affiliated yourself, but you take a swig of your drink and it tastes oddly like water. It looks right, it smells right, everything else about it is right, but it tastes like water. And you kind of get the idea that they might be connected, but you're going to play it off. Okay, I like that. So Taslin, make an insight check, because you're watching to see his reaction.
Yeah. A 6. My prank is going off great. Hasn't noticed a thing.
You're like, he can't even tell he's drinking water. He's so used to the taste of this, it must always taste like water to him.
And then Wampum's going to do the taste thing. I'm going, it must be the Shadowfell. Or, where did we just come from?
The Feywilds?
That's it. I don't like the Feywild anymore. My Thunderbelly Ale don't taste right.
I believe that means he gets a free refill, if I'm not correct.
They're like, of course, and they kind of like smell it and they look at it.
And Wampum will give the bartender a wink.
Ah, yes, of course.
The next one's going to be warm and water.
Warm and wet.
He's going to have 3 effects.
I love it. Yeah, so they hand the glass back to you, and they're looking back. Lafcadio, are you going to go ahead and just like head over to the stage and play something as per Wampum's request, or are you going to stop for a drink first?
Don't have to ask me twice. Yeah, I whip out the loot, and before I even hit the stage, I'm playing.
Nice.
And I think I'm playing a song about the Archfey that we just left. I don't know if the Archfey is the Shining Princess, or if they're one and the same, but that's who I'm singing about, the stories I've heard of that particular Fey.
Okay, that sounds like a fun song. So it's like lighthearted and jovial to meet the atmosphere inside. Cool, fun story. All right, cool. What's Kale doing for all this?
Kale would have just dropped people off and then left.
Oh, where are you going?
Probably to go find an open space somewhere where it wouldn't be intrusive to summon a 120 square foot temple.
120 square feet temple. I guess, is it like a height sort of temple, or is it going to be, do they have like surface area dimensions of how much?
It can be that. Well, so it's up to 120 square feet. So I guess he could make like a 60 square foot one.
Okay. I mean, you feel like you could probably get away with a lot of stuff in be like the courtyard around like Wampum's place. They know you there. You could go slightly outside of town. Big open spaces is not something that they have in wide supply necessarily in Mirabar. It's a very busy, sort of bustling merchanty town. There's an entire underground that has to do with mining and more mercantile and like forging type stuff. So it's a really populated city. Unless you want to like set it up probably in like the market square, there's just a temple there, kind of like out where everybody is. Do you want it to be kind of tucked away, or do you want it to be?
I like the idea of building a fort in Wampum's front yard.
Like a kid's pillow fort. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had the big wide space around what now is their sort of like central diocese sort of place with the like monument to the revenge. So the party was constructed around there. So there's kind of like this wide open square, and you could kind of like make it somewhere within there. And since you can kind of like craft the dimensions, you could essentially just build it like several stories tall or however much you really kind of want to do.
It'd probably only be like 1 story tall. It's gonna be small. It's like it's a shack to Denier.
It's a shack to Denier. I like it. So the small temple on the outskirts. Gotcha.
Yeah. There's like just a chair and a symbol of Denier on the back wall. And that's basically it. And a desk.
A candle, some books, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's just gonna write down the things that happened today, like he always does, and then he's gonna write down his prayers to Denier, but they're just like it's generic shit. And I guess he asks like, "Hey, if you need me, if you want me to go somewhere else, hit me up."
Okay.
But he does it the way Kale would do it in writing.
Gotcha. Do you think that this is feeling kind of not monotonous, but like a programmed response for him right now because he's still kind of like processing all these emotions, or do you think this is time spent in quiet contemplation?
So writing down the things that happened, it's not just like a log. He is like, it's his viewpoint. He's like writing out like his thoughts and feelings get onto the page, and that's cathartic for him, I guess. I don't know. That's how he's processing what happened.
I see. Okay, so then by the time you get to the end of the prayers, maybe you're feeling a little bit more focused and organized with your thoughts, and so instead of just kind of like haphazardly writing them out of habit, it's more there's a little bit more devotion to it. Okay, so I'm just checking to see if where he's at right now. Okay. So you're going to do that, and then your plan is to kind of like bed down for the evening?
Yep.
Is there a bed in this temple, or do you plan to knock on the Thunderbelly home door and?
They'll just stay in his fort, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you tell anybody where you were going?
No, but I mean, it won't be hard to find them. Like it's clear, there's clear markings on the outside of Denier stuff.
Well, yeah, and anybody there is going to kind of know that doesn't necessarily belong. So if they go back there, then they'll be able to see it. All right, fine. So before you all went in, everybody kind of like hopped off the carpets. Kale like put it down, Nas got off, then Kale's like zoop and took off. I headed in the vague direction of the Thunderbelly home.
Yeah, and if anybody had asked, he would have told him that's where he was going.
Okay.
In the bottom of the screen, there's like a tiny Nos just raising her arms, like what the fuck.
I love it. Okay, so back to the inn then. Lafcadio is playing, Nos is drinking, Taslin's pranking, Wampum's going along with it. What are your plans for the evening? Just a merriment. Taslin, you mentioned wanting to do some research, or are you going to do that tomorrow?
Taslin is going to have his one drink, finish his little vengeance prank, and then he's going to down his mug, and he's going to get up and go to leave and try and do some research, and he's going to buy some, like 100 gold worth of magical components for his mansion spell.
Okay.
Because he was running low. I think he only had one more use of that, so I think it's like a silver door or something like that. Let me pull it up.
I think it is a small door, but does that spell consume the components? I don't think it does.
Well, if it doesn't, I've got a lot of them.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Magnificent mansion.
Miniature
Not that you don't have to, if you want to buy more, you can.
Marble and a tiny silver spoon. Each item worth at least 5 gold. Well, it doesn't mention that it weighs them, so I'm going to say I just have been collecting tiny spoons and small pieces of polished marble and little carved ivory portals, and I put them in different pockets, so if I ever lose one, I'll have like 6 more.
I love it. Are you still going to go look for more then, or are you kind of figure you're good at this juncture?
I mean, I feel like I've already committed to the bit, so I think I have to now.
Okay. All right. So it's late at night.
I've got a thing I want to do.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, let's go back to the inn and we'll do research in a second. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to get the tender's attention and ask: Are you the owner of the establishment, or do you have any kind of executive power here?
Yes.
What's your standard operating procedure for a bar fight?
I'd say I prefer for it not to happen. Damages.
But okay, so let's say hypothetically damages could be covered.
I would ask that at the very least if someone started a bar fight. Would you prefer being directed to the fighting scene, as it were?
Yes. I mean, if you prefer. I mean, I could put on a pretty good show, but up to you.
Make a persuasion roll.
I got 21.
Oof. Put on a show. Could charge admission. Do you mean tonight?
I mean, right now. If you're not into it, it's cool. Just tell me where to go.
Just don't break any of the drinks. Keep it on that side of the counter.
I honestly can't promise anything, but I can promise that I have enough funds to rebuy this establishment if necessary.
I could use the night off anyway.
Very good. And then she puts her drink down after finishing like 2/3 of it. And she goes over to the table where they're gambling and doing dice.
Mm.
And I will sit down looking like I'm going to play with full intent after I lose at any point, if I do lose, to flip the table and just start insulting everybody.
All right. So they look like they've got a set of dice that they're rolling, and they're like target numbers you're looking for. I forget the name of it. Is that craps?
Yeah, I think it's craps.
Okay. I was like, I don't ever go to the casino. I don't know. So they're playing some like version of that you can play without there being like the full board and sort out. So go ahead and make a. Do you have like a gambling skill? Do you have like a proficiency in dice or anything like that?
Not dice, yes, cards.
In cards, you do. I'd say that it's still well, no, cards would definitely be completely different. So you could either go ahead and make like either like a sleight of hand or just like a general sort of like a dex roll, whichever you prefer, and then natural.
Fuck, got a nat 20.
I love it. Okay. Are you?
I want to lose, Mom. Let me lose.
If what you want to do is lose, if that's your intention when you're making the roll, and you're like, rolling the dice, and you're like, all right, come on, Timora, give me a shit hand. You get the worst possible roll. What is the worst possible roll in a game like that? Just like not what you're looking for.
I think it's 7. I think that's the thing you're trying not to roll.
Okay.
It's a combination of 2 dice to get 7.
Yeah, so you sit down, you place your bet, first roll, lose everything.
Dice are loaded! Your mama's a troglodyte!
What? No, can say anything about that, like, anything like that about my mom? And this, like, dwarven person, they're, like, they've got this, like, braided red hair, and they've got, like, not beads, but, like, the metal sort of, like, things that get clamped onto beards. They've got, like, this intricate sort of braid, and there's these metal clamps throughout it. And they stand up and they push their chair back. And they're like, say it again.
Your mama is a God's be damned troglodyte. 'Cause you ugly.
And they like jump up in the chair and like leap off of it and like kick off of the table and just come like jumping over at you to grab you by the shoulders and try to like push you over.
I'd like to try to duck in order to get the guy behind me involved.
Okay, yeah. You want him to like sail over you and land on the person behind you?
Yeah,
basically.
get that going.
Okay, make a dex save for me. And I think you'd get like danger sense on this, right? Because you were anticipating all this. So advantage.
21.
Yeah. So they come like leaping over. They're kind of intoxicated. You were intending on doing this, so you're like prepared for all this to happen. And they come jumping up at you, and you like duck down to the side, and this person goes like sailing over you. The boots, you can like feel them like the wind rush over your head as their like feet go kicking over you. And there are people behind them that were sitting and having a drink, and there was the like storyteller, and they had stood up and they've got their cup in their hand, and he sails into this blonde-haired storyteller, and they get laid out on the table. The drink goes flying. The cup hits the person across the table and spills ale all over them. And so then they stand up and they're like, it's a waste of alcohol, abuse, and they like push the table over, and that whole pile starts jumping onto the person who sailed onto them, and then the people that were at your table are like half looking at you and half looking at their friend. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna turn to his friends and be like, "Are you just gonna let your bro suffer like that? What are you gonna do?"
And they like,
are you men or are you dwarves?
We're dwarves, and they go like running over to help their friend. And there are other tables on the side, and a couple of them look like they are just like watching with interest at first to see how this sort of plays out. What are you doing when all this is going on, Wampum?
Wampum is just preparing to kick anybody back into combat that comes flying out.
Oh my god, I love it. So you kind of like spin around in your chair and you're drinking your drink, and you see like Lefcadio in the distance. Are you still playing, or are you gonna?
Yes, I've switched up from jovial songs to fast-paced fight music.
I love it. So yeah, this is like the perfect orchestration. You're like, somebody throws like a wide punch and they miss, but they stumble because they're a little intoxicated, and they hit one of the friends of the original red-headed dwarf that had kind of gone flying over, and he stumbles over your way, Wampum, and you're able to just kind of like kick him back into the fray, and two people dogpile on them. And at this point, somebody in one of the far corners who's looking interested is like, "Hey, that's my cousin. You can't treat her like that." And comes like, it's actually like a woman, and she's got her hair like slicked back into this bun. There's like a gray streak coming down the side, and she looks like she's a little bit older, and dwarves live a long time, so she's been around for a bit. She's got like hard calluses on the backs of her hands, like burn marks up and down her arms. She probably is some sort of crafter and works maybe like a forge or something. A strong person, like scars all over them, and she just like walks in and picks one of them up by the scruff of their neck and throws them back, and they kind of like fly like 2 feet away. Are you joining us, or are you watching?
Oh, I'm joining. In the background, I'm like power bombing a dwarf onto the table and breaking it, and then in the further background, someone's being tossed out the window and glass shatters.
Okay, yeah. They have like the not like lattice work, but the sort of windows that have the like crossbars in them, so they're smaller panes of glass. Somebody gets thrown into one of them, and they take the wood and the glass with them, and it goes spraying outside. There are people outside, and somebody's walking by, and this person just goes like landing hard on the wooden deck and goes rolling off of it. And the people outside kind of look in, and they're like, And they're watching as this person's like, bah! And goes running back in through the broken window and like brings some glass back in with them instead of going through the door. And they jump onto one of the tables of people who aren't doing anything. And they're like, "What are you doing just sitting here?" And they like grab the beard of one of them, which makes all the rest of them go, and they just punch him in the face. So then that table gets involved in it. And now everyone in the whole establishment, Wampum's watching, kicking people back in. Lefcadio, you're like periodically having to like move out of the way of somebody who gets like tossed up onto the stage, or like a cup that comes flying at you as you're like Dragon Force style, like egging everyone on with this like energetic music. And Nas is just like moving around and making these like crazy moves, and in general just like egging everyone on. What are a couple of other things that you do while you're in the middle of this instigated bar fight? Nos?
That ambulance sound in the background was perfect timing.
Right. I think that might have been at my. I don't even remember. I was talking and I was like, hey, that's outside. It's probably fine.
So I'm actually not trying to avoid anything that's coming my way. I'm attempting to actually absorb a lot of the damage that's being done tonight.
Okay. The original person whose mother you insulted, they kind of like climb their way out of this dog pile of like 4 and 5 people all like grabbing somebody and punching them and then elbowing someone and then realizing it's their friend and being like, sorry, mate, and then punching someone else again. He kind of like does the thing where he crawls out the bottom and looks around and sees you and is like, ugh, and he grabs a big chair and comes running over with the intent to like break it over you.
Give me more!
Make an intimidation check.
Shit, showed my hand. 24.
Okay. I'm gonna... Oof. You see the, like, all of the energy kind of, like, and color sort of, like, drains out his face for a second, and he kind of, like, looks back, and he goes...
Ow! You son of a bitch! That hurts so much!
He goes back to a couple of his friends and like grabs them by the backs of their shirts, and like one of them has like a leather strap on, and he grabs them and yanks him back, and he's like, I need help with this one. And so now 3 of them are coming at you, like realizing like they kind of get pulled back and they're confused for a second, and they realize that you're the one who like started this to begin with, and you see them all kind of like phalanx style like stand next to each other and take a step back and then come like running at you. What do you do to all 3 of them?
I'm gonna just let them try and do any kind of damage to me.
Okay.
I imagine at some point I look very much like an ant that's been given 3 children to watch over, and they're just climbing all over me. Like I got 2 on my legs, 1 on my arm.
Yeah, the two on the sides definitely went to try to like push your legs out from under you, and they essentially did like a Benny Hill sort of like run into you and like pillar, and like you just kind of like stood there as they bounce off of you and kind of fall, and then they're trying to like, the one in the middle tries to like jump up and push you over while this is happening, and he does sort of a similar thing. So then they all kind of like stand back and they're trying to like throw punches, and you're either like dodging them or just like deflecting them, or it just like hits you and they kind of like and are trying again. Are you hitting them back at all, or just kind of like almost like taunting, playing with them?
I'm definitely taunting and playing with them. I think at some point I toss some dwarves because I know that they hate that.
Yeah, so after a while you're just kind of like taking these like blows or dodging them and what have you, and then you grab the original guy and one of his friends and just kind of like do the thing where you like pick them up and like face them at each other and then just toss them away, and their friend kind of takes a step back and he's like and dives onto someone else, like not wanting to look like he's the first person to lose fight, but definitely like, okay, I'm done here. I'm by myself and we can't make any like progress on this. So you're just kind of like, the whole rest of everyone is they're starting to like lose momentum after several minutes have passed. Wampum, you've had the opportunity to kind of like push like 4 or 5 people back, and one of them looked like they were trying to climb over the bar to stand behind it with the bartender, and you're able to just kind of like grab them, like, you know, and someone has like a belt on, and you can just like lift them by like the belt and the back of their shirt and just kind of like boof, toss them back in.
I'm gonna grab you and I'm just gonna say, you're a dwarf, and going back in combat.
Oh, I love it. One does get like thrown against the back of you, and they kind of, there's like the impact of them hitting you, but it doesn't even make like your drink spill. And they stop and they turn and they look and they see who you are, and they like jump and dive back in themselves, like not willing to be thrown, unless you want to try to grab them before they jump back in.
As long as they continue to go back into combat, I'll leave them alone.
Okay. So like slowly over time you see people start to like trickle out the front door with like black eyes and like bloody lips and things like that. A couple of people, like one's limping and another person's like helping them like walk out, and things kind of like start to settle down. And the original one that you insulted looks like he is like just picked way too many fights, trying to like find a way to like channel his anger towards someone he might be able to win against, because clearly you are not the one, Nas. And you see him kind of like sitting in the corner with like a mug up to his face at one point, and it looks like he's like missing a tooth, and he's just sitting there like.
At the end of everything, when everything starts dying down and like the last punch is thrown in the background, and they're just like, ugh. I will buy that dwarf, the one that I picked a fight with, drink. A nice one.
So everything starts to kind of quiet down, and since Wampum was there throwing people back in, the bar area behind the Tendero is undisturbed for the most part. And so they start like cleaning off glasses again. They kind of like use their rag to like sweep some glass that somehow made it all the way over to the counter off the table and shake it out, grab another one. And you come up and they're like, well, what do you have?
Let's see. I will have some of that sparkly moon shit for that guy over there.
That's a nice one. And they bring out like a smaller, like a snifter, like you would use for like cognac or something, and they pour it like half full. And the smell hits you, and it's like it's really like pepperminty, but you can tell it's really strong. Like what is that, Rumpelmint's or whatever? That's like 100 proof. It's like similar to that. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and then I'll ask him how many platinums do you want?
He kind of looks around. Like all the chairs are broken. There's only like one table that has survived, but it's got like a chunk missing out of the side of it, where like somebody landed on it and only like one board broke of the several boards making up the table. And he's like, Katie doesn't actually know how much like a bar fight might cost a person, but they'll come up with a figure. Let me see if I can. All right, hold on. Let's see. I've got the power of the internet at my hands.
As the fighting has died down, Lefcadio has put his loot away and has started walking around to the things that are lesser damaged, and he pulls out his maracas of mending. And so the things that are fixable with magic, he'll start.
I mean, theoretically, it's all pretty much like wooden chairs, wooden tables. So you could take the time to fix everything, but each casting is a minute. So if you wanted to like start working on it over the course of the next like several minutes, you could probably get like that one table repaired and maybe like all the chairs around it. Like just like putting the legs on like back one by one and like putting the like backing of the chair on like one thing at a time. Let's see. Bar fight damages in D&D. Bar Brawl, 5th edition. Tavern fighting rules. Running a bar fight.
Nice.
This is the thing that people have done. Oh, there's even a sage advice about it.
Oh,
this
boy.
comes up. Yeah, this comes up often enough. I'm sure that. Of course, I typed in damages because of who I am as a person, not like cost.
What main source are you using?
I'm Google.
Word.
Wait, what's your question? Oh, is that what you meant? Okay. I guess I could just look up the cost of like a chair. The chairs couldn't be more than like a silver or two, right? So
No, you're good. You're good. I'll just give him 50 platinum. That ought to cover structure support. That ought to cover the window. That ought to cover all the furniture that needs replacing, as well as a full stock of new liquors.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, he was kind of like looking around and scratching his head and trying to like, and you just kind of like set this chunk down on the counter, and he's like,
"Oh, is that too much? Here, and I'll take 20 off and give him 30 platinum."
It's like, all right, we'll call it even. And he like scoops it into like his arms and kind of like goes down under the bar, and you hear like jingling of keys and like a couple of like metal, like you hear something opening and hitting the back and closing and the jingling of keys again or whatever. He stands back up and he's like, all right, you lot out, rabble into the street, we're closed for the night. And it's not like super even early to close or so. It's like getting on towards the kind of end of the night anyway, or like, I mean, it's Dwarven City and they could be there all night.
It was a good night.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like people were this was the time people would be winding down because they work in the morning anyway or whatever. So people like are hobbling, carrying each other out. Like they've like had to set down the takers they were using to like cool their bruises. And so now they're just kind of like holding jaws and like scratching heads as they head out and everything clears out. And he doesn't necessarily make the three of you leave if you have anything, if you just want to like sit and drink for a while. But he's just kind of like in general start walking around and like picking up debris.
Old man, are we staying at your crib or?
Yeah, fine by me.
Word. Start trudging out.
All right. Anything else that the rest of you want to do before you go to bed for the evening?
On my way out, I'll apologize to the barkeep. I wouldn't have seen necessarily Nos paying for the damages since I was busy fixing everything.
Sure.
Sorry about that, mate. Here for your trouble, and I'll slip him 20 platinum. Sorry again.
Thanks. That's mighty kind of you. He's like puts it into a pouch.
And I'm sure we're not going to have any, trouble with the law or anything, and slipping him another 10.
He'll take it and he'll put it back in that pouch. No, things like this happen all the time. This will get us set up the next day or so again.
Thanks, mate.
Is Lucadio particularly insightful?
Not particularly, no.
Okay. So it was just kind of like, no, everything's fine. You lot have a good evening.
As Wampum's walking out, he'll wink at him and just laugh and say, "Good night, wasn't it?"
Hasn't been a fight like that in a while. She's a strong one. He kind of like gestures over at Nos.
Aye, she is.
He goes back to picking up broken legs of chairs and stuff. And so you're all able to leave and head back home. It's late in the evening. What are Mama Thunderbelly's hours? Should she be asleep already?
Yes and no. It depends on the day. But we can say that she's getting ready to
go to bed?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the time you all arrive back to your ancestral home, you walk inside and you hear who's there?
Hey, Mama, it's just me.
Oh, you're back so soon. And she comes she's coming from the other room and she's in her like evening sort of like, not like a robe, but like a house coat sort of thing that people would have that they would leisurely wear in their homes in an evening. And you're able to like meet her basically in like the threshold to the main room, and you see that the tooth has been mounted onto the weapon over the mantle successfully. Like basically it took them the rest of the day, the several hours that you were gone. She'd already gotten it taken care of, and she gives you a big hug. You all smell like you've been in your cups.
I am drunk.
It was a good night, Mama. It was a good night.
I'm glad, and I'm glad you're back. You ready to sleep?
Aye.
You know where the rooms are. I'll see you in the morning.
Okay.
I'm gonna go sleep on the bones.
Okay.
I like the bones.
She's kind of like, she's patting you on the back as you're heading out there, and she like grabs a blanket on the way, and just kind
Thank you, Mama T. You know, you're a beautiful, beautiful creature, both in body and spirit. There is a place for you in Mount Celestia, when it all ends.
I love you too, Nas.
Okay, good night.
Okay. You're gonna like curl up on like the cold stone. You can kind of like feel it. It's like when you're that drunk, it's nice to have the cold on your face.
Absolutely.
Just kind of like turn your face a few times and are like enjoying it. And she just kind of like sets the blanket down over the rest of you. She like steps back and looks like, I don't think she wants a pillow. Actually, this looks fine. And kind of like pats you on the shoulder, and she's like, "Come inside if you want to." Heads back in. So you're falling asleep out there?
I'm probably going to stare at the stars for like a good long existential moment. And then eventually I will fall back into my head and fall asleep.
All of it. What's your plan for the evening, Lafcadio? Going to bed?
Sorry, I had my mic muted. There's a train of motorcycles going past our house for Toys for Tots right now. I just if I see Nos heading towards a sleeping area that's not dedicated as a sleeping area, I'll set up camp next to her as well, just to make sure that everything's all right. And so I'll take a bit of a watch, but eventually I'll fall asleep.
Okay.
Eventually you will find that just very, very gently, 4 orange fingertips find your paw, and they just attempt to hold your hand.
Oh. This is cute. And you notice the temple that's been erected in this courtyard. I think Nas probably wasn't really paying much attention. If you want to have noticed and looked around during your existential star staring time, you would notice as well, Nas. But if you were kind of like, that sort of like, I'm drunk and I'm going to go lay down, like tunnel vision, you probably would go and lay down and feel the cold stone and look at the stars and would miss it kind of off to the side there.
I want to say that any changes to Wampum's home, like strategically, she thinks in her mind that this is a base of operations, and therefore it is a fortress in and of itself. So she needs to be aware, even drunk, especially drunk, of any additional structural applications.
All right. Yeah, so as the 3 of you had made your way outside, you did notice, like, Mama kind of like lays you down, you feel the cold stone, and you roll over to look at the stars, and you look around, and you notice that there is a structure off in the distance, not super far away, I shouldn't say the distance, but there's a structure in the, like, sort of the side of the courtyard that wasn't there before. There is a large symbol of Denier on the front, the candle.
Nice.
So you might be able to presume where that might have come from. Has Kale ever cast this temple spell before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I feel like it becomes, like, pretty straightforward, like, what it is. If she's usually strategically aware of things like that. Now, that doesn't mean you wouldn't, if you want to go check out, of course, either of you definitely could.
Well, if he fucked off right when we landed, I'm going to give him his space. Otherwise, he would have stuck with us.
Fair. What are your thoughts, Lafcadio?
I see the less grandiose temple. I'm like, well, they must have a reason for that. Again, I'm just keeping watch over Nos. So.
Okay. And you, I'm just going to head to bed? Or do you have plans? Okay.
Nope, I'm heading to bed.
All right, Taslin. So you go and you buy another spoon and piece of marble and a little door.
Yep.
And then, it's like late at night. The market is pretty closed down, but there are the sort of like the hawkers that have like blankets and are super transient rather than having like actual stalls, and they always have like little useless bits and bobs. Mm-hmm. They're still out, and you do find like a little porcelain miniature spoon with like flowers painted on it. And they had like a broken stone that looked like marble that they said came from some specific temple that had been ruined, like the sort of hawkers that are selling like fake relics and stuff like that. And then they had, it was like a little wooden carved dollhouse. It was really shoddily made, but it did have a door on it. because it's a door that you need, right?
Yeah, I need a miniature portal carved from ivory, a small piece of of polished marble, and a tiny silver spoon.
So you're able to find the spoon and the piece of marble, it's a building material. Ivory is a little bit more difficult this late at night, but you have two dagger
Taslin
collection.
already has a significant amount of ivory at this point.
Okay.
Like, maybe 50 gold worth of ivory stowed about in various places. I think canonically, I guess I'll just say, like, some of the beads that he has, like, in his hair, some of it is ivory. And
okay.
So that explains where some of the ivory he has goes.
Right.
And so he'll buy the spoon, and he'll just... Tazlin's not a barterer guy, he's not a people person. He just, like, slaps down 5 gold and is like, I'll take the spoon.
And their eyes get really big. Of course, here you go. And they, like, just push the gold away really quickly into, like, some pocket or something that they've got under, like, these, like, robes that they have. They're just, like, sitting on the ground, and they've got a cloth kind of about them. It looks like some of it is just, like, cloth literally over them, and some of it is some kind of, like, jacket maybe. Mm-hmm. And they start to, like, pack things up, and they're like,
as they're packing up, Taslim will go, do you know if there is a library in this town or somewhere where I can research? There's an additional 2 gold if you point me in the right direction.
They, like, lean and point down the street, and there's, like, it would look like a temple, except there aren't any holy symbols on it, but it has this sort of, like, large rectangular structure that you, you now realize you have been to this library before. The last time you were here, like, yesterday, since you've gone back in time now. You're like, oh, yeah, that is the library, because it's on the district that's sort of, like, next to the mercantile district. And then they immediately hold their hand out. They're like, their face isn't necessarily dirty. They look like they're fairly well kempt, but their hair's, like, a little messy, and they've been sitting on the ground. So they're like,
I give them the gold. And, before I leave, what is your name, just in case I'm back in town?
Dang it. It is Teo.
A pleasure. If I'm in need of more spoons or anything like that, I will make sure to look for you first.
I'll keep my eye out.
You're a good one. And Taslim will just saunter off over to the library. Or, the building.
They're, like, scrambling to kind of, like, roll everything up and, like, make their way away. Doesn't look like they're, like, running from you or anything. More just, like...
Made my cut today. Ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fell fair more than their cut, but that's fine. So you're able to head down to the library. You've been here before. It is very late at night. I would say the library probably doesn't necessarily close, but there are keepers about that are kind of, like, finishing up, tidying for the evening. They're, like, putting the last of the books away, and when they see you come in, one of them, like a younger-looking dwarven woman, comes over, and she's got, like, very plain-looking robes on. It looks like they're probably, like, scribes here. It doesn't look like it's necessarily fine clothing, but it's well-made. They're in Mirror Bar, and everything is crafted very well in this sort of area. She's like, we normally close our doors soon. Do you have a book you're looking for?
Well, that's really a question for you. I don't know what books you have in this oh-so-grand library. I'm looking for books on Shar. And before you get the wrong ideas, I know I am a Shadar Kai. This is for the utmost importance of the well-being of the realm, and I am currently allied with the Thunderbelly clan here in Mirabar, so if you need references, they are there.
I thought you looked a little familiar. We can close up and you can stay for as long as you'd like.
I would appreciate that.
And she just kind of, like, nods and gestures to like, sort of like a back corner where she says, there are several religious texts in the west corner here. These sort of darker ones are further in the back.
I appreciate it. And Tasman will go investigate the books, and He's going to be looking, in particular, he's looking for ones that may be more, maybe not more mythological, but like, not fairy tale, like that line between like myth and legends.
Gotcha. Where it's like there's a grain of truth here, and we don't know how much storytelling might have embellished.
Yeah, and I mean, after the Scythe of Storms incident, he's like, well, myths are definitely real.
So, what do you already know about Shar?
I think that he knows that she's the Lady of Loss and that she is one of the darker goddesses. I don't think he necessarily knows much about the worship of her, because I don't think Taslim is very cosmologically inclined. He really doesn't like gods or their existence, for the most part. But I think he knows enough to make educated guesses to, like, understand at least the basic principles.
Okay. So you make your way back there, and in each sort of the, like, wings, the books are lining really tall, so like 10-foot bookshelves. It took me, I lose easy words like that sometimes. It's a sort of library that has the ladders that are on like rollers, and so you can kind of like climb up it and push yourself along when you're wanting to get a book on the higher shelves. There's like study areas in the middle of them, or like reading areas where there's tables and chairs set out. There is a dwarven looking woman. She's not looking woman. She's a dwarven woman who looks a little bit older. She's got sort of like light brown hair that's like pulled back into a few braids. They look like she's got the sort of like fringe of graying around the edges, so she's quite old. She's got like some wrinkles to her face. She's reading, if you happen to pass by closely to her, she's reading a book on Selenite, it looks like. And you're able to, as you go up and down the sort of like sections, you're able to eventually locate sort of like a Gods of the Underdark sort of section. And as you kind of like thumb through a few of the titles, there's like a study sort of on the worship and history of Shar that's very like academic, and then there's also like a really like faded like leather peeling like pieces of like some of the pages are kind of loose in it. You can tell like worship book, where there are obviously like chunks of it missing and there are loose pages, but this is more the sort of thing that would like a cult to her or something like that would have. So there are large chunks missing of it, and these are the only two books in there. And the academic one is pretty thin, and the other one is more of like almost a journal that's really like heavily used.
He'll start reading through the journal, but he'll also keep the academic one like to the side, and he'll kind of sit down at a table. Kale, I forget, did he ever give Neuron Vane's diary to you, or does he still have that?
I feel like Kale looked at it at some point.
So I think he gave it to Kale to review after being like, I found this and didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's true.
So Taslim will start kind of using the academic one as a reference for like dates or times or locations, and he'll start pouring through the older one, kind of cross-referencing between the two to kind of establish some semblance of truth, so like he can rule out outright lies.
Yeah, the fact from the fiction.
Yeah, and he'll start doing that, but he's probably going to be looking for anything like the cult would be looking to prevent, or like if there was anything that they mentioned that like was something they wanted to acquire, he would assume is probably for safekeeping because it has some importance.
Okay.
Would you like an investigation check?
Yeah, go ahead and make me an investigation check.
That is a 26.
Oof. All right. Quite good at that. So,
you've skill.
What'd you say?
It's my one really good skill.
Okay. So you've got the like religious text sort of thing open, and you've got the reference to kind of like double check things off to the side, and you're flipping through both. And the religious text talks about when the creation of the world and the heavens and all the planes, and the crystal sphere that was created by Lord Ao. There was a primordial essence surrounding it, and the protoplasmic raw stuff of existence was fashioned into the world we know now. It was chaos and timeless and meaningless. Let's see here. I have notes on this. From this sort of like chaos and darkness, Shar coalesced the more primordial essence side of things, and at the same time, so did her twin sister Selene. And of course, they describe opposite of what anyone with general knowledge of religion would interpret, where Selene, of course, is the one who would be described as beautiful and more on the good side of things. This one is sort of geared differently, where Selene is the true sister, and the blaspheming sister. Shar, excuse me, and Selene is the blaspheming sister trying to ruin her plans, sort of thing. They're beautiful, identical, but polar opposites. They described Shar's raven hair as being stuff of the primordial strength of the night, and Selene being this pointless silver light, profane light sort of thing. And as you're reading through it, you're able to find out that they were both instrumental in the forming of Shantae, but of course Shantae's love was for the land, and so where Shar should have had an ally, she instead had an enemy. And as you're reading through this, let's see here. With that investigation, universe was darkened by the hair and welcoming embrace of Shar and illuminated by Selene. And so it's, let's see here. There's no fight or heat in these bodies. They fought over the fate of creation, so it's going to frame the fight between the two of them as Shar bringing the glory to the creatures of darkness, and Selene being standing in her way. Let's see here. In terms of something that they might be looking to prevent, or might be looking to make sure happens, or something along those lines, this text is really more geared towards painting Shar in the correct light. You might see somebody preaching to professing sort of thing. But they do say that the plane of fire, let's see here. Seizing advantage, Selene reached out of the universe into a plane of fire, and it burned her, brought forth a fragment of ever-living flame. She ignited the sun, and it gave warmth to Shantae, and it enraged Shar. So they really are adverse to fire, especially harnessed directly from the plane of fire. But there is a mention of the profane light and the unholy fire that burned away the beautiful darkness that we should embrace, kind of thing. So you can kind of glean from this that fire is something that the cult was concerned with, not being something that would be good, but whether or not looking through the academic texts, which are more dates and times of the mythos creation, and academically it talks about Selene calling forth this fire, and that it enraged Shar, and that she kind of took this as an opportunity to strengthen her efforts of war against her sister to blot out light. It's not clear whether or not the fire was particularly useful in anything other than just directly combating darkness and being a useful tool. But the more religious text does make it kind of sound like fire might be something that's particularly hated by at least that sector of any of her followers or something like that.
Okay. So Tazin will pull out his quill and his ink, and one of the I think we had a book. I had a book, a journal book, and he just starts jotting down notes of primordial fire and things like that. And then he closes it up, lets it dry, blows on it, sets it in his bag, and then he just leaves.
Okay.
But when he leaves,
go ahead.
When he leaves, he's going to be looking to see if anyone is paying maybe more attention to him than they should.
So actually, as you've got these two books in front of you, and you're spending a lot of time reading, and you pause at one point to pull out a notebook and you start to take notes. You do see the older dwarven woman who happened to be reading a book about Selene kind of stands up, or Saloon. I don't actually know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Selune, maybe. Anyway,
Whatever.
Yeah,
Potato.
she kind of like folds it under her arm and walks over to you and sets it gently down on the table and says, "Interested in the darker side of things, are you?"
Where great light shines, great shadows fall. I am inexplicitly drawn to these types of things, it seems.
One could presume that someone with the dark nature might be drawn to darkness, but instead you are looking to combat it?
All things require balance, and I simply mean to keep that where it needs to be.
That is a noble pursuit. Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
All right. I will not pass this. So, even
You got like bones in your hair, so it's like
yeah. I mean, that's a 13. Taslin is not the most persuasive person in general.
She nods, and you look, and she does have she's got this sort of dark blue, like academic-looking robe on, and there are embroidered like silver moons. Is unsure whether this is maybe somebody who's dedicated in service to Selene, or whether she's more of like a researcher, since she's here in the library rather than in a temple. And she nods and says, "That is a worthy cause. Are you finding evidence of practitioners around this area?"
Can I do an insight check? I'm not sure Taslin would just entrust any old person with that information.
That's fair. Yeah, go ahead.
That's a 7.
It's a 7. She's got like a furrow in her brow that looks earnest and worried. And you could tell that at first maybe she was perhaps worried that you were doing research for maybe a more personal purpose, and she was maybe kind of like, "Don't go towards the darkness, my child." And so she's kind of standing there with her hands together, and she's got this earnest look on her face. And that doesn't necessarily mean, she looks trustworthy by all of these signs. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to share your innermost thoughts, but it doesn't necessarily look like she's got like a "tell me what you know" kind of air about her.
Yeah. My companions and I fought a dragon and slew it that was in the service to Shar, serving a nefarious purpose that we have encountered in the past. I am simply looking for information on how to better fight not only her minions, but also to give us an edge if it ever comes to the culmination.
Well, that is certainly a worthy goal. I wish you luck in that. And she kind of like reaches into a pocket of her robe and says, "May Selene light your path." And she is holding this like crystal. Kind of looks like it might be like a quartz. It looks really nice. And there's like almost like an inner light to it. Like it's probably like a really minor magic item or something. It's got like a faint like silvery glow to it. She sets it down in front of you and says, "That sounds like very important work."
Thank you. I won't keep you long. Could you perhaps shed some light on this primordial fire? That I would assume that was the sun, correct?
As the stories go, during the battle between the sisters, Selene, in her wisdom, called forth fire from the planes that they had created to combat the darkness, to beat it back. And while it enraged Shar greatly, ultimately, it weakened her. And while Selene herself was also weakened, she recovered. And there was balance that was brought, although the struggle had a great cost.
I see. Well, thank you. I appreciate the token and the information.
Glad to help. And she picks the book back up and she kind of goes back to her table and sits down and continues reading.
Yeah, Tezlin will finish up the book. He's going to shut them, put them away. And then he's going to head back to Thunderbelly headquarters.
Do you take it with you? The little like crystal that she left sitting on the table?
I think he takes... One sec. I need to see how long Identify takes. I can ritual cast it. Oh, I can just burn... I'll burn a slot, yeah.
Okay.
I'll burn a level 1 slot, and I'll just pull out a pearl and an owl feather, and he'll just cast Identify on it.
Okay. Do you have, can you put Identify in there? Because I know it gives you, like, schools of magic and all that. So can you click the description and put it in?
I can totally do that.
Because every time you've done Identify, I've been like, and what else does it tell you? And what else does it tell you? So if I can, like, check mark it.
Yeah.
You choose one object that you must touch throughout the casting of the spell. If it's a magic item imbued, blah, 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 and then the properties and how to use them. Requires you can touch a creature as well. Okay. So you take out your pearl and your feather and you like set them kind of to the sides or you maybe put them in one hand, however your magic in particular tends to work. And you reach down and you touch the crystal. And as you touch it, it shatters under your hand. And you can feel a coldness seep into your fingertips. And the woman sitting there starts to laugh. And you look up and her eyes blacken out and her hair turns dark black and starts to like almost cascade down her face. It almost seems like the light in the room dims and there's just like pressure for just a moment. And this black-eyed person, their mouth stretches open far too far for a normal dwarf. And they say, "How dare you?" And they start to melt away, like disintegrate almost, like turn into dust and to like shadow.
Okay. As it shatters, would it be like a medicine check? I guess Tazlin's kind of like a split-second decision to be like, oh, do I need to literally bamf to Kale or...
You could do a medicine check, maybe Arcana.
Okay.
There was like, you were already starting to cast Identify. You could feel that there was an arcane presence to it.
Are there still pieces of it?
So you touched it and
yep.
it did like a shatter. And what happened was these shards kind of like spread out and then stuck like kind of like grabbed around like your skin and absorbed into it almost.
So I'm still in contact with it.
It doesn't exist anymore. It like absorbed itself into you. Yeah, you're still in contact with it, I guess. But also just like you could do either check like a medicine check to check yourself and see if you determine anything, or you could do like an Arcana check because you watched it happen.
Yeah, I'll do an Arcana check.
Yeah, whichever you think would be better.
22.
22? Okay. So initially it just kind of had like a faint magical aura to it, and it was like benign in terms of temperature, and the minute you touched it you felt almost like if you've ever touched like no, most people don't touch dry ice, but like the extreme sort of cold, and there's that like quick burn, or if you like touch ice and your hand's wet and it sticks to it and you get that sort of like ick feeling. It did that, and then as it shattered and like came back and like stuck to your fingers, or like little pinpricks of ice almost. Do you ever do any like ice magic? Do you have any ice spells?
Yeah, I have Cone of Cold.
Okay.
I think that's my one.
So it had that sort of a feel to it, but it had this also sort of like draining sense to it, as if you could feel like the warmth and the strength almost be like sapped out of you for just a moment. So there was like a spike in the sort of general arcane feel, and then it was almost like magic of cold, but also magic of like, not like outright necrosis, but like the sort of like sapping of energy is something that you could like quickly discern as you watched and felt this happen.
Okay. Oh man, part of me wants to just go to the plane of fire immediately and be like, ha ha ha. But that's probably not conducive. Taslin will like immediately like set the books down. Is the book that she had still there, or
she had been
I know she was holding it. Yeah.
She had been reading it on the table, and as she kind of like distorted into this like monstrous figure and her eyes blacked out and she started to melt away, it kind of like faded with her.
Okay.
Like it was part of the illusion, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Or not illusion necessarily, but like part of the thing that happened.
Yeah. Tasm will dash out of the library running towards Thunderbelly thing. And I don't even think it's like him casually walking. It's him like running.
Do you take the books?
Ooh. But that'd be stealing.
It would be.
He doesn't have a library card.
That's fair.
So I guess he just leaves them.
The like young woman is like at the door and she sees you like running and just, is everything okay?
Gotta go, forgot to put the books back.
Okay, I can take care of that. And she starts to like pull the bar that she had placed down in front of the door back. Have a good evening.
He doesn't respond.
He's yeah.
Bolting. Let's see. I think I have Dimension Door today.
Go ahead and make a Constitution save for me.
Yeah, I can do that. That's a 7.
Okay. 7 Constitution save. You feel this like you kind of like you run out onto the streets and you see the direction towards the market and towards the Thunderbelly home on the far side of town, and you start to turn to run, and this like wave of like coldness and almost like nausea hits you. It doesn't like stop you from moving or anything, but you can just like you feel ill, and there's just like chill to it, like you're clammy. And I think this is a good time to take a break. So we're going to take a few minutes to get up and stretch and go get a drink and, you know, find out what's... yeah, so come back and hang out with us in a couple of minutes. And we'll pick back up where we left off.
Bye.
See you in a bit.
Hello, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us during the break. Appreciate you hanging out. All right, so Taslin, you were going to ask me a question?
Yeah, do I know what temples are, like, in the city? I've been here a few times.
You know, there's a temple of Helm, because the woman that had visited previous that had asked Kale to, like, train her in the, like, knowledge of Denier, mentioned helping out at temples of Helm. There's obviously a temple of Moradin in the area. So those would be the two you would definitely know off the top of your head. You guys have been in the city several times, right, though?
Yeah.
Like, I would say, like, this is a big city. There's a lot to it, and then there's, like, a whole other underground city. So you would find most of them being geared towards, the sort of, like, craftsman type.
Like Dwarven Pantheon kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But you're going to find some of the more major ones, like there's a Timora, there's a Selune, there's a...
do I happen to know where the Temple of Selune is?
Well, so the Temple District is basically like you're on like the cusp of it.
The opposite way?
Yeah, so the main stretch is going to have the more frequented like Dwarven Pantheon and creation, like artisan crafty type gods are going to kind of be there. And then on the like the offshoot roads, actually I guess go ahead and make like, you've been here a few times, you come and study frequently, make like a history check to see if you happen to remember,
18?
especially in this situation. Okay. Yeah, so like the main stretch is all the Dwarven Pantheon, and that you know like off the top of your head. The Selune Temple is behind, like if you head down like a third of the way through the district, which isn't super huge. There's the Temple of Helm, and if you hang right there, then there's like a Selune and a couple of other like moon, like earth. Like there's a Shantae, I think, back there too, and stuff like that. And so she's kind of like over in one of the like back streets behind, like kind of on the third closest to you. I talk with my hands a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So Tesla's gonna run towards the Temple of Saloon, or Salune, and while he's running, he's gonna pull out the sending stone to Kale.
Okay.
And as he's running, just be like, I got attacked by Shar, hands turning black, might be dying, sorry. It's okay if I die. Temple of Saloon. Like, and he's just gonna keep bolting. And then what he's going to do is, after like 8 seconds after that, whether or not he receives a reply, he is going to cast.
It's just okay.
Do sending stones wake you, or does like the sending spell, can it wake you up when you're sleeping?
I was gonna ask what time of night it is.
He got through a lot of studying. I feel like you were kind of like first to bed. You did your like writing down the stuff of the day. That could take a significant amount of time, but in the span of time of like the length of the bar fight, which lasted quite some time, I feel like you ended up going to sleep first. They kind of like were probably like a third of the way through the bar fight when Taslin was kind of like nearing the end of his reading, and as things like winded down and everybody was like heading home is when he had kind of like finished his reading and was kind of like packing up to go, and that's when he was like approached. So the other three probably aren't necessarily asleep yet, but you would have been. But if Taslin's yelling and you think you reasonably would wake up for something like that, or you're like lightly sleeping or maybe troubled sleeping because of the events of the day, then you probably would wake up for it.
Yeah, it's just a lightly sleeping.
Okay. Yeah. So you hear him then, and you get an okay. And what did you say you're going to do after that, Taslin?
Next thing he's going to do as he's running towards the temple is he is going, well, probably loudly cursing is the next step. And then he's going to, I didn't take remove curse, but I do have dispel magic. So he's going to, I think I have let's see, what slots do I have left today? I don't think I have cast much. He'll cast at level 6 dispel magic on himself. Okay. Just to rule out whether it's a magical effect or whether it's poison or a curse. Okay.
So go ahead and as you're running, make an athletics check at disadvantage for me.
Oh, okay.
Since you rolled a nice 7 on your con save there.
That's fair. That's a 14 though.
Disadvantage, so an 11.
Huh?
Yeah, I said disadvantage,
11,
so an 11.
Right.
11's not terrible, though. You're able to, like, it's tough and you can feel, like, something just, like, weighing you down. It's getting a little hard to breathe, but you're not, like, slowing down. You're able to keep your pace. So you're watching as this darkness, this, like, blackness kind of, like, spreads up your hand, and it's starting to, like, creep up your arm, and, like, your clothing, like your robes at the end of your hand, are starting to fade into this darkened pattern too. And you're wearing a robe of scintillating colors, right? You put that on.
Yeah.
So the colors are being like eaten away as the thread starts to look like dark and like tattered almost at the edges. Is like taking the life out of it.
Elbow at this point.
It's like part of the way up your arm, and you cast the dispel magic, and you're watching it, and it like doesn't seem to have too much of an effect on it. Maybe it's not moving as quickly. Make like I guess like an Arcana check to see if you can determine if it impacted it.
18.
Like maybe it slowed it a bit. It's still moving, maybe not as quickly as it was. You're not sure exactly what it is that's happening, so it's hard to say whether it impacted it and this was like coincidental, or if it's like as it travels up and it has more to impact, it's like kind of slowing as it spreads in a different way or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I keep moving, and I guess I'll use the robe of scintillating colors for bright light.
Oh, okay. So is it just cast like the light spell basically?
It explodes into a bright light that blinds anyone that was looking at me, but then I think it's dim light. Let me pull it up. Expend a charge to cause the garment to display a shifting pattern of dazzling hues until the end of your next turn. During this time, the robe sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet.
Okay. What are you doing after you say, okay, Kale?
I get up. Well, okay, sits up, throws his legs over the bed, rubs his eyes. Just fucking, I can't fucking believe this guy. Just fucking every time. And he gets up and he looks under the bed where he stashed the rug, and like he's digging. Why did I put it so far back? Just he pulls the rug out. And he walks out the door, and he closes the door. He says the word in Celestial, and he throws the rug, and it goes up, and he jumps on the rug, and then he starts flying to wherever the hell the temple is.
Did you say you're going to the Temple of Selune? Selune?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Selune,
Sorry.
not Seldrine, yeah.
Okay, so you're heading there. I would say that Nas and Lefcadio, you see Kale come like grumbling out of the temple and take off.
That's normal.
Okay, so Taslin.
I say shh,
Yeah.
shh, and I just tell
Hey, Lefcadio,
yeah, mate.
you're the goodest boy. Seriously, you don't like bring anybody into your bullshit, and I appreciate. I'm here for you. I'm here for your bullshit. But I just wanted to say thanks. Do you want to lay down?
That's all right. You go ahead. Just have a sleep.
Are you being my guardian angel right now? Is this what's happening?
I'll just watching over a friend.
So yes.
Just have a sleep.
We angels gotta stick together, brother.
Yeah, we do. That's right.
What do you think about when you try to fall asleep?
Shiny things.
Like what? Like diamonds and lakes?
Yeah, the sun reflecting off of water. The diamond dust that we've acquired and used for many things.
Are you saying that?
Bringing us
Are you
back to
saying
life.
that because I'm a goblin and I'm supposed to like shiny things? Is that
Not at all. I'm a cat who likes shiny things.
okay? Good. All right. Cool. All right. I'll try that. I'm gonna try that.
Good. Good night, Nos.
You hold my hand. You hold my hand, or else.
Okay, Nos.
I love that. All right, yeah. So you explode in vibrant light, but not explode, just in light. And you know, it's really bright. It blinds anyone else. It's coming from you, and you look down at it. It's searingly bright for a moment, and then you said it sheds bright light for a while, and then dim light.
Yeah. It's 30 feet of bright light and then 30 feet of dim light.
Okay. So with the initial sort of like blast of it, you do see kind of like this darkness like fade back a little bit. And as the like initial like surge of it wears off and you're exuding bright light, you see it starts to make its way back up your arm.
Okay. Do you want me to make a constitution check before I do what else I would be doing?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
How
you
close is the
majored.
temple?
So it's going to take you on foot, probably your movement speed's 30 feet, right? Or are you faster?
30
Okay.
feet.
It's probably going to take like a handful of minutes, like running as fast as you can. Like you're basically going like a dash speed. At this point, you are feeling really sluggish and really drained, but you made your athletics save, so like your adrenaline has dumped and you're able to like overcome the like exhaustion, like not statistical exhaustion, but
Right.
like the feelings of tiredness and fatigue washing over you. Kale, it will take flying over the city. How fast does that smaller carpet go? 80 feet, I think.
Let me look. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. It doesn't say in the thing.
I think it's 80 feet because with both of you on it, you were moving 40 and you were having to slow down to the 30 of the big one. So you'd be able to go 80 and then dash at 160.
Okay.
So it's going to take you longer to get to the Temple of Selene than it takes Taslan to get there, but you're flying over the city and that is quick. So you don't have to like dodge around corners or anything, and you're moving really quickly. So you'll arrive maybe within like a minute or two of Taslan getting there. It's like super air fast travel speed. So what are you going to do next on your way as you're like kind of like running down these dark, like dimly lit city streets at night?
Part of me wants to just dash, but the other part's like, why don't I just Scorching Ray myself? But no, I'm not going to Scorching Ray my arm. That would be silly.
Desperation can do crazy things.
It's true. It's true. But,
so you're just hoofing it? Okay, go ahead.
I think Taslan would just hoof it until he gets there.
Okay.
He will burn a Misty Step to go an additional 30 feet.
Okay.
Which probably might not be great because it's based off like the Raven Queen. But it's the Raven Queen's blessing.
That's true. That's true. It is a blessing. So you're dashing, you're Misty stepping maybe a few times or however many you want to do it.
I can only do it once per day.
Oh, I see. Okay, so
it's a racial feature.
Yeah, maybe there's a time where you can like feel the exhaustion surging over you and you like Misty Step. And as you like make it that extra distance, it kind of like emboldens you a bit as you like call on this blessing that you're like loath to use slightly sometimes, except in danger. And by the time you get to the front gates, the darkness has spread. It's like halfway up your collar and your neck, and it's like moving its way down like towards your waist. It hasn't made it across to the other side, but it's like almost like ink spilling on you, like if you were a flat surface, and it's just kind of like washing over you. So the front doors to the Temple of Selene, it's like a moderate size. It's not one of the bigger temples here, but it's substantial. There's a big carved moon in the front that's like silvery, kind of shining in the light, and you're exuding light at this juncture. And so you can like see it kind of like reflecting off the moon that's like carved above the arched doors, and then there's like moons carved into the doors as well that kind of like reflect the light as you approach. Selene, does she do? Let me look up Selene. I know she's moon, but I'm not sure if she has too much water. Selene can do 5e. Like, would it make sense for there to be like fountains outside? Let me see.
The moon controls the tides.
It's true.
That's true.
I mean, well, that's in real Earth.
Navigation and navigators. Non-evil lycanthropes. Okay. What we'll do, I'll roll a percentile die. Oh, and of course it's taking forever to roll. Come on, roll 20. Don't do this to me. I rolled a 19. Only I can roll a 19 in a percentile die. So there's no water outside. I was going to do like a 50-50 for you. Okay. So you don't see a fountain immediately. Do you like run up and like push on the doors to see if you can get inside?
Yeah. I know
open.
I have to pull up that thingamajig. Because I have the amulet that Fey water nymph creature gave me in the Feywild.
Sure.
But I'm trying to remember. It was it create water or was it control water?
It was the cantrip that's like, it's either called control water or it's, let's see.
Yeah, shape water.
Shape water, that's what it is.
Okay. Tasman's going to pull out his water thingamajig. He's like, his water, what is the word I'm looking for? Jeez.
Water skin?
Water skin.
Okay, yeah.
And he's going to like, you kind of use his shoulders to like try and push the door open because it hasn't reached this side. He's going to try and like, barrel his way in. And he's got his flask kind of like held there. And he's going to try and like pour it on the blackness and see if like it will do anything. And he'll like use the shape water to try and like use whatever water he has in his flask to like roll it up if it has any effect.
Okay. Is this like special water or is this like mundane water?
No, it's just regular water. Wait.
Water?
I might have holy water. Let me take a look. Because I know the Haunted has sometimes weird things. Like I started I do have a flask of holy water. And a
Okay.
holy symbol, which I've never touched, because...
So you have holy water from
Yeah.
your background. Whom do you think would have blessed this water to make it holy, and where would what god would they be?
Oh man, coming up with lore for a flask of holy water. I would say that this flask of holy water would have been from like a century ago, when he was in the Feywild with his brother and the Turnbuckles and their companions in Raziel. And I think at some point he had acquired this, whether it was from a like Fey-based god. I think it was probably the beginning of Taslan kind of realizing what he used to be, and like he got kind of caught up in the dream of like, yes, like this is how it should be.
Okay.
And I feel like he had gotten this and acquired it at some point in that juncture.
Okay. So you kind of shoulder into the doors. They move under the pressure of your weight. There is somebody kind of like kneeling inside. There's what would be a sunroof, but in this case it's like a moonroof. There's like a glass pane, like a dome at the top that allows the moonlight to stream down in over a statue that's carved of like a figure with long hair and in robes. It obviously intended to be Saloon with the moon symbol like on like a medallion that's hanging from her neck, and they're like kneeling in contemplation. And as you kind of like barrel your way in and the doors swing open, they're big heavy doors so they don't like go clattering against the wall, but it's still like a ruckus. This person stops and turns around and sees you running in this like dim, you're shedding bright light, so they can see this like darkness washing over you, and you uncork this holy water and you start like pouring it on your hand and kind of like moving it up your arm, you said?
Yeah.
So you start pouring this water over your hand, and you can see almost like where the water starts to touch, the darkness starts to like gray out almost.
Mm-hmm.
What's your normal flesh tone?
Pale.
Mm-hmm.
Like bone white pale.
Okay, so you're pretty ashy. So like it's almost like if you were to like put ink in water and it kind of disperses. It's like this similar where it's like making it fade out, and you have enough in like a flask or like a glass container of holy water to probably do your full arm. And as you kind of like pour it over here, you can see the like darkness start to like slowly fade away. It's still spreading from the other end, but that is like combating it. It looks like it's like purification maybe, or something along those lines.
And the acolyte, I feel like Taslan probably at this point has been running for far more than Taslan usually runs. And I think Taslan kind of like falls over. Maybe not falls over, but like in exhaustion. And Can you describe the acolyte that's in there?
So it is it's a young woman. Since you have light and you can like shed it on her, so you can see more than just the normal moonlight. Do you have dark vision, by the way?
Yeah.
I would think you would. Yeah, so you could see pretty well anyway. She's got long brown hair. It's like loose and wavy around her face. She's got these grayish robes on that look very plain, like they're like issued from the temple sort of thing. There's embroidery down the side that has silvery and blue moons and stars and such. And she's got like a simple belt around her waist. She's got a prayer wheel in her hands. It looks like she was praying under like the light of the moon to the statue figure here. And she had kind of turned around like kind of sitting on one leg at first because she'd been kneeling, and now she is like standing up and like clutching this holy symbol of Saloon and this like prayer wheel to her hands as she watches you kind of like stumble in and like fall to your knees basically.
Yeah. Holy water, please.
Okay, one moment. And she goes like rushing off through a side door. And Kale, you're like soaring through the air, like you're going so quickly, like the wind's burning your eyes kind of thing. Or no, we decided that there was like a field in front of it or whatever, so that's not happening. But you're moving really quickly, and you look down below you and you can see the temple of Saloon, and you like make a beeline for it. Do you like jump off the carpet? What do you do when you land?
How heavy do the doors look?
They're probably open.
The doors, yeah, they look like big, thick wooden doors made of like a strong wood. I don't know. Well, oak probably is strong, right? I don't know. Big, thick, heavy wooden doors, but they are like ajar. They look like they've just been like pushed open and are just kind of like one's like 45-degree angle, one's like a little bit more, like maybe 55 degrees, where somebody kind of like poof, came charging through maybe.
Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna bust through there. I'm gonna fly on a carpet and open them and leave them open again.
Okay, so this woman, she goes to the side door and it opens inward, and as she like pushes the door open, she like puts her hand out like she's maybe going to say something to someone. There's this crashing sound behind you as Kale comes like soaring in on the carpet, and the doors are pushed again, and one does kind of like swing all the way back and like hit the wall behind it, and there's this big clattering sound, and she whips her head back around. She's like, ah! And she goes running through the door now, and you can hear like her talking, but you can't really hear what she's saying.
Whatever. I see Taslin, right?
Yeah, he's like, you said you kind of like felt like
Yeah.
knees kind of thing. He's like kneeling on the ground, and what you're looking at when you see him from the back is he's got like this flask, and he's like on the ground next to him, and it looks like his arm is damp, and there's like this grayish color like up his arm, and there's this darkness that is slowly like creeping its way through his like midsection, and like it's at this point it's like kind of like almost like threatening the left shoulder and like creeping down towards his legs as well. Like it's almost like ink being spilled over him, like I said.
Okay. Kel will get pretty close. He'll get within 30 feet. As soon as he gets within 30 feet, he like tosses up his drift globe.
Okay.
And he says some sort of word in Celestial, and the drift globe goes boo, and light just like shoots out from it, and it washes over Kale himself and Taslin, and he casts the Holy Aura spell.
Ooh, what does that do?
I think this button works. Hey, it worked. So it did it twice. Ick. So basically, he gets advantage. Both of us get advantage on all saving throws, and if somebody were to attack him, but the main thing is he gets advantage on all saving throws, and he's glowing. Basically, he
Nice.
sheds
With
the
brilliant light.
The brilliant light.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. As you see, you toss up your drift globe and you cast this, and this brilliant light comes cascading out of it. You can almost see like the borders of it, like a Thomas Kincaid painting style. The light like expands out, and there's this like brilliant golden aspect to it. And as it kind of like washes over Taslin, you can see almost like the edges of this darkness kind of like not crackle, but they kind of like shrink back slightly, and it's like scintillating almost as it's like pushing like across his body.
Okay, so he does that. So Kale does that, and he keeps going. And as soon as he's going like super fast, I guess. So as soon as he gets close enough to touch Taslin, he just comes up and basically like smacks him on the back, and then says another word in Celestial. And well, does he need to say a word for this spell? He's casting a remove curse spell, basically, because I did have that prepared for some reason, because I guess I knew this was going to happen.
Well, you had gone into the Feywild, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, okay. What do you say to Denier to ask him and call for this power to remove a curse from Taslin?
Well, I guess I said he says one word, so the one word would be banish.
Banish. Okay. So you cast this, and both you touch him, and as you're speaking, you can see the tip of your finger start to turn black, and you say this word banish, and the drift globe, like almost just like as if you had cast a daylight spell, it like pulses with this light, and your holy symbol pulses with light, and your hands themselves, light starts shooting out of like the ends of your fingers. That you can just see this, like not shooting out, but it's like glowing, like this massive light that you're channeling, and as you do, it gets so bright in here it's almost unbearable, and you're watching, and like through like squinted eyes you can kind of see the light like doing a reverse sort of creep across him like the darkness was, and it's sort of like overtakes it, and the gray of his like arm and his clothing starts to return to a normal color, and the like the ink is like pushed back, and it kind of like is squirmed into this small sort of point on him until it's completely snuffed out. And as that happens, the light kind of like fades back to the normal light of the different robe and the normal light of the robe. So it's still very bright in here, but instead of it being like this bright, like blinding golden light, like staring into the sun, it's just like a really, really brightly lit room. Brightly lit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brightly lit.
Yes.
Great. And then eventually the holy aura. I think the holy aura would like. It's dramatic if it had been consumed. The use just it takes all that power.
Yeah.
So that all happens, and then Kale, who has just slapped Taslin like really hard on the back, kind of just like stops for a second and then puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "You feel okay?" Or is?
Do I feel okay, Katie?
So. As this darkness started to spread, you heard somebody come in behind you, and there's like this clattering sound, and you're able to like look back, and you see Kale kind of like dive bombing at you on this carpet, and you feel him slap you on the back. And there was this like cold sinking feeling that had been like sapping all of your energy, and you could feel the warmth of this light as everything got so bright. It was nearly blinding. Words are so hard. Like it was almost like a battle. You could feel like the warmth trying to seep its way back into you as the cold was pushing against it. It was they were like, as it started to spread and it was really coming across your body, it was almost like you could start to hear whispers around you as well, like at the edge of hearing somebody whispering in a corner, but you can't tell what they're saying. But it filled you with this sort of sense of dread, and you felt connected to something, as if it was like tethered to you and pulling on you. And there was like this feeling of like taint entering into like the bits of yourself that were being covered by this darkness. And it just felt like something was trying to like seep its way into you almost, maybe. And that feeling is gone from your body, but the belongings you're carrying feel, how do I describe this? It's like you being so in tune to the arcane and like energies in that sort of a sense. You can feel that while you yourself inside, you don't feel sluggish anymore, although perhaps still like adrenaline dumping and feeling overwhelmed by what you've just experienced. You feel like fine in terms of like status, but you feel this sort of like sense of this darkness around you, just not within you, if that makes sense.
Okay. Second question.
Okay.
The Shadow Kai that we've fought serving Shar in the past, has anyone had their skin tone or any markings that, now that I've kind of like experienced this, I would be checking kind of like my memory of the people we've faced actively serving her.
Okay. Go ahead and make a history check. Were you checking his teeth for like dental health? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm just being weird.
I'm going to burn a viewer inspiration on this.
Okay.
For 21.
Oh, nice. Okay. Thinking back on it, well, general question to everyone. Did any DM that put you up against Shatterkai in the past ever describe them as having blackened hands or anything like that? Okay. So, as you like kind of like think back from the beginning, the first time you encountered any of these like blade singers or chain singers, whatever they're called, like throughout your journeys, you don't recall anything like this. You don't recall any like tribal painting that looked like this darkness sort of coming over anyone or anything like that. You think of the ones you'd encountered most recently, or more appropriately had the like orc tribe encounter most recently. Nothing really stands out to you in terms of like this sort of like darkness overcoming someone's like whole person. You've seen that some might have like war painty type things on, or like tattoos or what have you. Maybe they have like their eyes darkened and things like that, but nothing looked like this.
Okay. Thank you. I'm so tired.
Mm-hmm. So what? You're welcome. What happened?
This woman comes crashing back into the room, like the door is like pushed behind them, and she's followed by an older looking blonde woman who's got her hair like all disheveled. She looks like she might have been sleeping. She's like rubbing her eyes, and she's got like a bowl. She's like, somebody needs a holy water.
What's the bowl look like?
It's a silver bowl. Are
there any gems in it?
You don't see any gems. It looks like it's made from pure silver, but it's filled with water.
Okay.
You're
Everything's
looking
fine.
for a hero's feast bowl, huh? With
Yeah.
gems? Okay.
Because last time I had to get one custom made. It took me a long time. Anyway, everything's fine here. Gail says it's all taken care of. Nothing that anybody needs to worry about. I'm so sorry we busted into the doors of your temple.
And the other one is, it's gone. You were covered, and it's. I told you that he looked like he was. You're
Yes,
better?
He's fine. I took care of it. Well, Denier took care of it really, and I'm sure there was some help from Selune. But there's no more need for you to worry. We're actually enemies of Shar. I'm sure you don't like that name, right? That doesn't sound good to you. Yeah, that
Both
reaction.
like take the step back, and the one with the bowl kind of.
Yeah, so he was having a problem just now with that, I assume, which is why he came to here. Got a huge insight score, so pretty sure I can piece that one together. And it's been handled.
Just don't need any blessings.
I won't say no.
You won't?
The older one with the bowl. The other one's just kind of like standing in the doorway, just like, this isn't the sort of thing people normally hear about. She's a little overwhelmed. The other one looks a little worried too, but kind of like when you've had training for so many years, you kind of go into like, okay, I know what to do in a situation where someone says they might be upsetting a god or whatever, and she kind of comes over with the bowl, and she looks like she's like going through the motions. She's saying a prayer to Selune, and she's asking for the silvery light of the goddess to wash down over you and to protect you from her, sister in the darkness, and yada yada. And she takes this water, and she kind of does like a, she dips her hands in it, and she like pats the top of your head and like wets your hair a little bit, and she dips her hand back in the water and sprinkles it kind of like over your shoulders, where she like, this is where the darkness had been like eking across, and like obviously this had been described to her in some way, and she's like looks to be picking like particular locations, and then she like kind of like hands it to you, and it's like, drink from here.
All right. I'll take a small sip.
Yeah, it tastes like cold water, but there's kind of like a tingliness to it almost, but it doesn't have like a flavor or anything like that. And I hope that helps.
I'm sure it will. Thank you.
Goddess protect you.
Thank you.
Yes, goddess protect you. So what happened?
I was in the library,
Mm-hmm.
and I was researching whether or not there was any weaknesses or the history of Shar, and I came across the primordial fire, and there was a dwarven woman sitting behind me reading about Selune. And she approached me, and she said, "Is there anything I can help you with?" and we were talking, and then she handed me this gem that was glowing with light.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to identify it. I didn't put it on. I didn't attune to it. And it exploded into my hand.
It exploded into your hand.
Yes.
Okay. That's a weird way to put that, but okay. Did you get this person's name, or do you know
No.
what they look like?
They had brown hair, right? Yes, brown hair.
Okay.
And when it exploded, their eyes
Probably more of an implosion, really.
they turned black. Their jaw extended.
Their jaw extended,
Yeah.
like a snake.
Yeah.
Okay.
One could say that.
All right.
And then she vanished
Uh-huh.
with the book. And I'm sorry, I need a second. It's not every day that I get attacked by a god or a goddess.
Is it some days though? Besides this one?
That's a story for another time.
It might be relevant.
I can assure you it's not.
Can you?
For the most part.
Oh, okay.
And Katie, Sealy, out of character. What was it that she said before she went and vanished?
How dare you?
Oh, how dare you. And she said, how dare you?
She said, "How dare you?" After the light imploded into your hand.
Yeah.
How did she? You know magic. You said she disappeared. She didn't start performing any.
Well, you know, like
components?
when I summoned the dragon, right?
Sure.
And it was an illusion, and they fade away over time.
Mhm.
Like when the magic and the spell is no longer being channeled. It was like that.
She was an illusion.
An illusion wouldn't be able to bring an item over, though.
Right.
Physical manifested item.
Glad we're on the same page with that one already without me having to explain it. But that's how she did. So when she disappeared, she just kind of just dissolved into just not existence.
Yeah. Sorry,
So-
those were the spoons in my pockets.
Wow, you get inspiration for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Vaguely unsettling, or maybe more than vaguely. That was I got a metal comb because I had a plastic one and it was really staticky. Anyway, okay, so that sucks. That sucks, but it's really late at night, and you said she disappeared, and the others they were drinking all night, I'm sure. So you
I
seem to be...
left right before that happened. I heard the glass crashing and I said, no thank you, I'm not going back there.
No, I'll just go grab whatever
book.
crystals any random
Have a
person
very
gives me.
nice time reading books at a library, yes.
Okay. Well, you're fine now, right? Everything's good.
How's my robe? How are my robes looking? Have they like partially dissolved? Am I like half naked walking down the street like tattered robes, like boop boop boop?
So the like darkness as it spread looked like it was like seeping the like life out of the clothing too and making it look aged and worn. And when you felt Kale / Daenerys' power kind of like overcome that, everything looks normal, but you feel like you're surrounded by that feeling that was inside of you. So it's almost like while you might be cured of like a curse or this like connection taint, whatever, there might like this might have impacted your items in some way, or it's just like an aura around you. Like you just feel uncomfortable, like it's oppressively like hovering around you.
Okay. Which hand was my ring on? I guess that's an important question. Was it on the side that got...
Which hand do you keep your invisibility ring on?
Usually my left.
Okay. It's on your left hand then. Yeah, that, like, this arm kind of feels cool. It's more like whatever is in that general region. So anything that you're carrying around, like your waist, anything you're wearing around your neck, anything on the right side, and then the robe has that kind of like feel to it. By the way, thank you for the big donation,
Thank
Maddie. I think there's like rewards for something maybe that big. I'm not sure. Tell us what you want to do to disperse that amongst the players.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll meet you back at the... Actually...
You seem like you're not doing great still.
No.
Like there's still more that needs to be done. Kale, are the people that work / live here still around within eyesight somewhere?
Like the woman with the bowl has been like slowly taking steps back, where she's like now just kind of like standing next to the statue, and the other woman is still just kind of like standing in the doorway watching. Like they don't look like they're terrified of you. They look like this is a thing that they don't see every day, and they're like worried and maybe a little scared, but mostly just kind of like, how do you stop? Like, you don't just walk out of a room when stuff like this is going on. You're like, oh my god, like train wreck. You know, you gotta watch it.
Like, I guess I'll just, this is fine. I'll just leave them to do whatever they want in my temple. These people I've never met before who just did all this crazy shit. Okay, so Kale will get up and he'll say, excuse me, that's holy water, right?
Yes.
Great. Do you have any incense somewhere? I'm sure it's got to be somewhere, right?
Of course, yes.
Could you do me a favor and just go grab that real quick?
Do you want the... I'll just...
Yeah, no, leave that there.
She like sets it down on the ground, and she looks over at the other woman, and the two of them, like the one darts like right back through the doorway, and she kind of like follows her, and you hear like shuffling back there for a few moments. And they come out with like a few sticks and then like a block, and they have both like the thing that you would put the sticks in, and they also have like the thing you would put the block in, and they have like a sensor. They basically like grabbed a little bit of everything, and they're like,
Okay, yeah, just the stick is fine. So he takes a stick and he puts it in the bowl, and he moves the bowl. He puts, one end obviously has to go into the water because the bowl's full of water, and he's putting it in the bowl. It's going to get water on it. But the other end is still going to be dry. So that's good because that's how you need incense to use it. And he takes the bowl with the incense stick in it with the dry end sticking out, and he puts it near the front of the statue or whatever at the head of the temple, and he shoots a little firebolt out of his fingers. And
like into the water or into
the
incense,
like right past the incense to light.
Yeah.
And he lights the incense up, and he tells Taslin right before he starts praying to just wait. Like, Taslin, can you wait 10 minutes? You good?
I'm just going to sit here.
Great. So he's going to let him do that while he prays for 10 minutes. Well, 11 technically, if you want to be a huge technicality person about it. He's going to cast the commune spell as a ritual.
Okay.
And he's going to try to contact, it says contact your deity or divine proxy. If you're cool with it, Katie, he's trying to contact Saloon because this seems like her thing.
Okay.
Or a proxy of Saloon.
Go ahead then and make either like do a religion check for me, but do it at advantage because of the spell that you've got going, which would be about saves, and I don't feel like this is a save, but this is kind of that way, but we'll do religion. And I want you to make a wisdom save with advantage for me, Taslin. You don't feel like anything entering your mind. I just want you to make that. And let me.
Yeah.
13 odds.
I got a 22 with advantage.
Okay.
I got a 23.
Okay. So you have this like feeling inside of you, Taslin, that's like, this, I'm surrounded. I don't want this to be around me anymore, but he told me to stay put. Okay, I'll just sit here. but you have this like urge to like
Bolt out and leave.
Yeah, well, to leave or to like to get rid of all the stuff that's giving you this feeling, like everything that you're kind of like wearing, which obviously you don't want to just like disrobe in the middle of the thing, but well, you're not going to, obviously, because you're good. Okay, so you reach out. What do you say to Selene, to Kale, to try to like entreat her to answer a call that you usually reserve for the connection you have with Daenerys? You are in her temple. You are near her, like her effigy. You've got holy water that's been imbued by power that she supposedly gives these people. You know, so you're close to her at this moment. But what do you say?
Yeah, I figure she'd be interested in answering this question, or these questions. So it has to be yes or no. So and it's 3 questions. So the first one he asks is the person behind me, has the person behind me been invaded by Shar's influence?
Do you say this out loud, or are you thinking it like in your head?
I feel like he would have to, like most cleric spells like this, you'd have to like say it as a prayer. And I've always imagined it being in my head, but I guess you could say it out loud, but quietly.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. So you're quietly speaking then. That was more just like a question for the scene to me to understand what is happening.
Okay.
So you ask this question, and are your like eyes open or your eyes closed? Like
Closed for sure.
Your eyes are closed. So you wait for a few moments, and then you just hear like a very soft, feminine voice in your ears, though not in your head, say, "Yes." Now, Taslin, you're watching, and when you see Kale sit down, and he's been praying and setting up and whatnot for like 10 minutes, and then you hear him quietly murmuring something, and you hear like a feminine voice say something, and it's really difficult for you to hear what exactly is being said. But as it's happening, the sort of like the light that you're emitting and the light that the drift globe is emitting almost kind of like not like fades away, but the light from the moon coming in through the window, which was previously like overpowered by all this bright light, seems to like gather in strength, almost like the like whitish silvery light of the moon is like shining brightly onto the statue as you're hearing like these quiet voices. What's your next question, Kale?
Is there anything I can do to ensure that they are safe, at least for now?
Yes. And Tazlin, you're watching, you hear like the exchange again, and you see the two women who had kind of previously like stood back and were just kind of like watching what he did. They went and like put away the rest of the supplies they had brought, and they came back to like watch and see what was going on. As the light started to grow in intensity, the sort of like white silvery light from the moon, you see them both look at each other, and then they like take up positions next to Kale and kind of like kneel down, and they close their eyes, and they're sitting there like quietly like looking down, and then they'll look up at the statue periodically and look down.
Yeah, I think normal Taslin would make fun of talking to the moon, but I think Taslin at this moment is just all of his energy is put into just not getting up and running.
Mm-hmm.
All right, final question. Will they be all right if, or no? What do I need to wait until morning to keep them safe from Char's influence? And the thing he's fishing for is like, does he have to wait until like he can prepare new prayers for the day?
Gotcha. No.
Okay. And he'll say thank you, and then put his fingers up on the. Well, he'll dip his finger into the holy water, and then with the incense.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Sometimes when you're watching it, like there's an additional exchange, and it seems like when you hear the response, whatever it is that's being said, the silvery light slowly fades back. And
As it's like fading, Tasman will, or I'll reach up towards it, like almost like desperately,
okay.
and it'll just go, "Don't go."
Kale will kind of just like reach up and like tap, like it's almost to grab his arm, but like he just kind of like brushes it with like these three fingers. It's okay. You're fine. She said you're fine.
Make either a persuasion or a religion check for me, Tesla.
Okay.
Whichever you would prefer.
Well, I'll go religion because that's a 24.
The silvery light started to fade temporarily. It's like slowly drawing back in the more like bright golden light from yourself, and the drift globe started to kind of like spread back into that area, and you reach up, and in this moment of desperation, like reaching out and seeking help so desperately and earnestly, you feel this sort of, or you see it almost like halt, and there's this edge almost between this sort of like gentle white light and the more like energetic golden light, as it like there's like almost this barrier, and it kind of like the silver light spreads back down a little bit, where it's basically kind of like watching one of those dimmer lights go up and down, where it was kind of like fading, and you could like see the barrier, almost like the two powers touching against each other, and then this one kind of like spreads back out a little bit, and the light is shining onto the statue.
Tasman like quickly gets up and like goes to the statue. I think he kind of like falls back down to his knees, and I think he closes his eyes. And I don't think Tasman's prayed for a long time, in general. Probably a few centuries. And I think he kind of just says, like in his head, where do I even start? I'm not good at this, and I've never really had a choice, nor have I ever wanted one. Everyone assumes that I should be a proxy for the Raven Queen in this fight, but I don't think it's really her fight. And I don't even know if you can hear me, but I remember being more than I am now. I remember being not tied to death and the Shadowfell. I remember being more me. And I think that's all he kind of says.
He says all that in his head.
Yeah.
So you're standing there, and you're kneeling there, and touching the statue. Are you like at the feet, or like on the robes? Like
I think he's at the feet.
Okay. And so there's this like warmth that is exuded from the light in the like drift globe, slightly. Like there's like the feel of firelight, but it's not like palpable where it's like ouch warm. It's just kind of like a gentle warmth. And there's this, not a breeze, but the feeling of like wind stirring, and the smell of like a crisp autumn night. where there's like the wetness and the petrichor and the like leaves on the ground, that sort of feeling. And you hear, "Seek me under the light of the moon."
I will.
And the light continues to shine on the statue, and kind of like almost like overbearing the golden light, but not in like a forceful way. It's like it's just like taking up residence where it belongs. And it's shining more brightly than the moon should, especially with this other like light combating it. And the light fade like from your robes fades away, actually, like almost like it deactivates.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like illuminated by this gentle silvery light.
Taslin, are you praying right now?
Shut up, Kale.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've never seen you do that before. It seems kind of well, I gotta be honest, it's a little upsetting to see that the only time that you've ever put your trust in any of the gods is when you're in trouble.
I kind of stand up, and I think Teslin's had a day. You know, I think that's how I'm going to justify this. Teslin storms up to Kale, and I think I forcefully, like, shove a finger right against his chest, and I take a moment and I go, "I put my faith in someone once. No, more than once. I've lived so many lifetimes you can't even imagine. I put my faith in someone I believed in, and now I am perpetually controlled and drawn to a place of death. And you think you can lecture me about turning to gods in my time of need? I have served so many lifetimes for nothing, because it was expected. Because I don't get a choice to choose. Because whether or not I die or I live, I will still come back to that place. I didn't get to choose to be a Shadar Kai King. I'm gonna storm out. I don't think Taslin wants to listen to reason.
Oh, Kale wasn't going to try and reason with him. He's had a day, too. This is still the same day that, like,
Oh, yeah.
talked to his mom. Like,
Kale and Taslin's really bad day.
No good, very bad, whatever.
But Kale just let him go.
Yeah.
Don't want to deal with that bullshit, right?
It's all bullshit.
But pointedly, Kale will get on his carpet and apologize to the people that worked there for like intruding. Like, sorry, messed up your temple, and then he'll just fly out and like I imagine at some point he'll fly past Taslin and just not acknowledge him and just fly off into the night.
Yeah, like Taslin's made it out the door and is like on his way wherever it is he's going to go, and you kind of like fly out and are able to like go up and over. So it's not like you whiz past or anything, but.
Taslin just finds an alleyway and he like draws like a line of a door, slams in his mansion, takes a nice refreshing bath.
And as you like start to peel the like everything that you're wearing off of yourself, you start to just feel so much better. Like you're not just like surrounded by this darkness. Like you kind of like wherever you put your things, whether they're in like a heap on the floor or you like lay them out nicely or what have you, as soon as you kind of like get away from everything that's happened, it's like a weight is lifted. You're able to kind of like breathe a sigh of relief, even though like that might not override the rest of your emotions. It's been a tumultuous day, and you can have like a relaxing bath without this like oppressive sense over you.
And he'll have like the servants like wash the robes like 70 times because he only needs to sleep 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then he'll retire for 4 hours.
Okay. What do you do when you go back to your, well, where are you going, Kale?
Back to the temple, the thing you were going to say, probably.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to like steer you in a direction or whatever. What do you do when you get back?
Go to bed.
Do Do you think Lefcadio is asleep by this point, Carl?
So he probably would have tried to have stayed up for 2 hours from when Nos laid down. So if it has been less than 2 hours, then yeah, he'll still be awake.
Yeah, and even with the prayer, which took 11 minutes, I guess, and even the travel time, because Kale can move so quickly on this this carpet, so you would definitely still be awake. So you see Kale come back, and do you fly right into the temple, or do you land and roll up the carpet and kind of trudge in?
Yeah, he lands and rolls up the carpet and just. I imagine by the time he gets there, he's not in a huff about it anymore. He's just kind of whatever, and I'm gonna go to fucking sleep now.
Okay.
If I can make eye contact, since my paw is still very tightly clenched in Nos's drunken slumber,
You betcha.
I'll do a nod like this, just to communicate my concern. Is everything all right?
Yeah, Kale would probably notice, and he just gives a thumbs up real quick and then go inside.
The evening draws to a close, everyone goes to sleep, and I think that's where we'll end for today. Hey!
Yay, natural stopping point.
What's your favorite part about today, guys and ladies? Yeah, we're Half Rate Heroes. I have the pleasure of DMing for these wonderful people that I will allow to introduce themselves and plug themselves in just a moment. My name's Katie Quixotic. I'm all around. I'm on Twitter. I'll tell you where I'm going to be on Twitter if you're ever looking for me. And I do my favorite thing at the end, so I have a second to think. So I'm going to put Carl on the spot.
Fantastic. I am Carl, and I play Lefcadio Whitehorn, the Tabaxi Warlock. You can find me here and now at this time on this channel. Additionally, you may also find me Friday evenings on Sabrix channel. That is at 8 o'clock Eastern. And we're doing a Planescape game. I play with Casey, who will probably be better by Friday. So you can see her lovely face again. My favorite part about today, is the repeated interactions between Graham and Kale, that are never amicable. So they go as expected, and it's comforting to expect a thing and then get that thing every time. You go to McDonald's, you get the Big Mac, you know what you're gonna get with the Big Mac. That's the conversations between Kale and Taslim. And that's me. I will turn it over to Vinny.
No, not me. God damn it. You do this every week, Carl. What's your problem? Why do you hate me so much?
You're next in the thing.
I know. I'm just being a jackass.
Okay. Just speak.
That's my most comfortable state of being. Hi, I'm Vinny. I play Kale Irvine, half elf and cleric of Denier. I did it for the last, however many hours it's been, 3, 4, what, I don't know. I don't know about numbers. I'm not good with numbers and math and stuff. I dropped out of college. Fun fact about me, dropped out of college. Still doing great. My favorite moment today, where you can find me on social media, basically nowhere. So my favorite moment today was, anytime, Kale and the fuck's his name? Taslin. Who cares?
I don't know.
Anytime Kale and Taslin get to have a moment, I really like it. Or anytime any 2 characters get to have a moment in this campaign, just everybody in this party is so good at doing those moments and making them great. For me at least. I like those a lot, obviously. But my absolute favorite moment, I think, my favorite scene, it wasn't really a moment. My favorite scene, I think, was the bar, the whole, everything that happened in the bar. The very fucking Nos and Wampum heavy, thing, all that stuff, the dwarf tossing and the fighting and the punching and the throwing and the, you're a dwarf, get back in there. I enjoyed it very much. And that's it. I'm done. I don't have to talk anymore. Hey, Casey, what's up?
Oh, hi, Vinny. Not much. Just sick. Still.
Oh.
It's cool. It's just a head cold. Get your flu shots every year, y'all. Anyways, I'm Casey H on the socials, and I have been your champion of Time War, Impaler, the Plains Heckler, Big Fire Chicken, Shield, Fight Storm, Slayer of Shadows, Bruiser in the Bar, Nos, the boss of Neverwinter.
Hey.
Thank you. Had a lot of great moments and favorite moments as per the usual. But as per the usual, also, I will only name 2 of them, saving the rest for the lot of ya. 1, really enjoyed Lafcadio and Nos having a moment because it's so rare for us to do that. We're always looking out for everybody else. And just the connection there without words was very wholesome and heartwarming. And then also Katie, again with the descriptions. Yeah, you lady. The moment that contact was made with Salune and bright light began to shine, because I saw in that moment particles drifting in the air in the moonlight, and I heard in my head Moonlight Sonata start to rise, and it was very not dark, but like a serene kind of. It was a very tranquil scene where everybody made that connection and started to pay attention to Salune, who has been a unacknowledged part of all of this, being the connection that she is to Shar. So that was hopefully a nice introduction to what part she might play in the forthcoming conclusion. Very epic, yes. And that's it for me. On to John.
Hey, everybody. First of all, I want to throw a shout out to you guys in chat. You guys are freaking awesome. We love y'all. But I am the Dwarf of Marabar, Master of the Axe, Enemy of the Drought, Traveler of the Plains, Destroyer of the Shadow, Deliverer of certain death. I am Wampum Thunderbelly of the Solinar. Graham! I loved our scene of you trying to get over on me, but I kind of picked it up. I loved that scene of me just trying to let you get away with it. I really enjoyed that.
I mean, I think that's a very important pivot of Wampum and Taslin. They're like a dynamic duo of bad choices, but also constantly one-upping each other with pranks.
Go ahead, Graham.
Hi, my name is Graham, or Graham Crackers, as I am more commonly known on everything else except Twitter. Don't follow me on Twitter, I won't retweet your stuff. Not a threat, just a promise. I play Taslin Evrio, your Shadowkai wizard, the toucher of the no good, no touchy bad things, the wizard of some wizardly renown, caster of conjuring and sheep tricks, and dour, sad boy, many hugs needed boy. My favorite part was probably. Ooh, there were so many. But I literally think the Lafcadio and Nos tender moment of like, because we don't think about like Lafcadio's been gone for a whole year, and this is like the day back, and he's just. I feel like only internally on his character he is feeling out of place at a time, like Wrinkle in Time books. And I thought that was a really nice moment to like hold his hand, like as if he's to prevent him from going somewhere without us. It was, as they say.
Well, agreed. Yeah, there was a lot that happened this session and last session that it's all just been like wonderful to watch. I think if I like picking a specific moment is difficult because you all mentioned specific moments that were like, yeah, you can always read my reactions as you guys start talking and I'm like, I love this. So I think the way to say my favorite thing about today was watching like the individual interactions. this sort of like the in sort of like almost fight between Kale and Taslin, and you can tell that there's like something bubbling under the surface, and there's some sort of like affection, but like argumentative nature because they just like don't get along, and you're like, so is Kale mad because he's like you're an idiot, or is he mad because like I care about you and you could hurt yourself? And like you guys are just like all so good at portraying things like that. And so like then like Wampum like letting Kale pull the one over on him because he knows he like needs that sort of thing, and then like Levcadia watching over Nas, and Nas do the like I'm not letting go of you sort of thing. Like it's all you as Vinny said, you're all really good at creating these individual moments, and so getting to like watch that and see the character development is my favorite thing ever.
We love you, Katie.
Ooh, love you all.
I'll never let go, Levcadia.
Except that one time. But now we'll never let go again.
That was his decision. Freedom of choice is a strict thing.
Yeah, you didn't let him go. You permitted him to leave of his own accord. It's different. Yeah. And he didn't technically leave. He just kind of stayed behind. You know, that's different.
That's the second time we've held hands with someone from the Feywild as a party.
Ew. That's... yeah. So I guess, do we have a raid set up?
It looks like, again, we'll be dropping into the Greyhawk channel. They're doing their final game of that show that we always raid at the end of this channel, or at the end of this show, the Dreadwood something or
Yes,
other.
that's the one.
That's who they are. But yes, we will be hopping over there as soon as we go offline. So see you later, everyone.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Buddy, see ya.
Bye.
Bye. Until next week, I think.
Yeah.